I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
Danny Green cannot find the bucket at all. I don't understand what's going on with this guy. I mean, I'm a Spurs fan. I've watched him play since the very beginning. I mean, I knew who he was coming out of North Carolina. He's that dancing guy or whatever, but I just don't know what's gotten into him with the comeback. I thought he was doing pretty decent. Justin, am I wrong? Was he doing good before the bubble?
He was decent. Let's say he was decent, but you're not the only one that's a little disappointed in him.
And you guys can kill him.
He can't hit an open three for anything, but the one thing that bothers me most is he runs a podcast, and in his podcast, he's already talking about fearing some of his opponents, and that is not a good precedent as a veteran to be talking about. So he, as y'all know, the Blazers are on fire, and he says nobody wants to play them, and as you know, the Lakers clinched first place, and the Blazers are coming for that 8th seed hot. And Danny Green's on his pod talking about he don't want none with them, and I don't really like that.
He lost his time in Toronto in that finals to Fred VanVleet. I mean, it seemed like he didn't hit a three that series either. But
and when you're a one-trick pony, you gotta hit your threes, man.
Yeah, he's. I thought he was a lot better defensively. I mean, at least even last year, I thought his defense bought him some time on the floor, even when he wasn't hitting threes. And I mean, with LA, the same thing. It's obviously not what it used to be, but he's still one of the better defenders on that team. So he's gonna have time, but for sure on a cold streak, bro.
Yeah, and it happens with those shooters, man. I mean, Danny Green, he's a shooter through and through. I mean, that's what he does.
Remember
he's gonna have
the Ray Allen.
What's that?
That Ray Allen one with the Heat, or was it with the Celtics?
No, it was the Celtics. He went cold. He went cold with the Celtics
for like a month or two. Bro.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, I'm a shooter too. I go cold sometimes. So mine lasts like a whole
you
rec
just stay
season.
Colder longer, right?
Yeah, I just stay colder longer. It happens. I know these guys' pain. I feel it, man. But Danny Green, I hope he's able to find his stroke, because I think he might be a candidate to lose some time also to some of the players that they're trying to break in. I know they brought J.R. Smith. He had a pretty good scrimmage or break in to the bubble, and Dion Waiters looked pretty decent too. Just got to keep him off the game.
Waiters he's still trying to find his stroke. He hasn't played a lot of basketball this season, so he's still working on it. The Morris twin also, he's physical on defense, and it's nice to bring that kind of play to the game, but he's not really hitting his shots either. But
Yeah, but
I like him for the defensive in the playoff, the attitude he brings and the grit. So
yeah, and we're talking about Danny Green right now, but they're killing him on Twitter and on Instagram. Lakers Twitter is brutal. Honestly, it's probably one of the more brutal fan bases on Twitter. They kill it with the photoshops every summer.
Laker Twitter is hilarious because one day you're praising the guy, the next day he's bad and he's off the team. We want him gone. It's bad. You should see some of the things I have to unfollow. There's a guy, and I don't want to name him, but dude, he writes a poll every day. Should this person be on the team? Should this person be on the team? And he has a good following. I mean,
so who's worse? Who's worse? And you know what, Justin, you're a fan of both of these teams. So who's worse, Lakers fans or Cowboys fans?
Lakers fans.
Okay.
It's more finicky.
Okay.
More finicky. Cowboys fans, we've already been through a lot. Lakers fans are not used to this.
Yeah, and half of the fans, they were. Where was LeBron before this? They were Cleveland fans before. Maybe some Golden State fans, and they're trickling over.
And it's also because the expectations are just so high with being a Laker. Like that's why we've seen guys go to teams where the expectations are just so high that if you don't play up to those standards and fail, they run you out of town. I mean, it happened with Dwight. Dwight went over there when he was pretty decent the first time around, and they literally ran his ass out of town, bro.
Kobe ran him out of town. Rest in peace.
But LA, like I said, the expectations are just at a certain level based off of Kobe, Shaq, Magic, all of the past, you know what I mean? And them trying to get back to that with this 7-year drought of not making the playoffs. But
yeah, we had a lot of ships, and the thing about it, what people don't realize, not only do we have a lot of ships, but we've been to the finals and lost a lot. So we've had winning records, winning seasons. I think we've been to the finals more than any other team in history, even more than the Celtics. Of course, we don't have the ships.
They took 6 off of you guys in like the 60s. Yeah. That's why Jerry West is like 1-9 in NBA Finals or something like that. 'Cause he lost them all to Bill Russell. No shame there, though.
But yeah, man, the history on the Lakers is a very.
But they're going to need Danny Green to be hitting shots, especially threes, because right now Kuzma is their best 3-point shooter. AD, like those are the guys hitting the most threes, and
AD is hitting some threes, man.
He is hitting threes, but honestly, we're barely seeing this out of his game where he's shooting multiple attempts a game. You know what I mean?
I like it.
I don't know if y'all caught the Oklahoma game, but man, we were flat, man. Everybody it was a half-court game. Chris Paul was controlling it, and we were flat. Steven Adams was eating in the paint. I mean, there was no stopping him. We don't have a guy that's as physical as a Steven Adams either.
Yeah, and AD has been pretty adamant his whole career about not wanting to play the 5 either, so he's going to be locked in at that 4 spot. But yeah, man, AD, when he's hitting those 3-point shots, I don't know that there's very many players that are better than him in the NBA.
Oh yeah, he's hitting that. That's KD level. If he's hitting that, it's KD level of unguardableness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you see what he did to Gobert?
And he has that handle
when he hit that step back on Gobert and 4-point play. Yeah. Too dirty for sure. But man, aren't you guys happy to be talking about some NBA? I mean, we're 3 or 4 games in. It's crazy. I love it.
I'm happy to be back with sports.
Yeah, man. I mean,
some normalcy back, just a little bit, but I'm taking.
I'm not gonna lie, work production might be a little down with NBA and MLB starting like at 12:30 in the afternoon. So it's kind of tough to stay focused.
Hey, you know what? It's about to get even worse.
You mean better?
Tomorrow.
Better.
No, I'm saying worse for work production. Worse
tomorrow.
For work production. Oh, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow it's back.
Yeah. It's gonna be a fun weekend.
Our first podcast since the NBA return, man.
Mm-hmm. A lot's changed, and we got some NBA talk also later on today.
Episode 15 is back. You know what? Let me just go ahead and intro as we are here. This is We Talking About Sports podcast. This is episode number 15. For the most part, we are a weekly episodic podcast. We did have a break because of the hurricane, but we're back. We are going to start the change of dates on recording to Thursday nights. Reason for that is to accommodate the schedules that are coming up for sports. And the same thing, we're talking MMA, NBA, NFL, all the major American sports, and then of course with the European sports of soccer and anything else that's on that we can kind of make a bet on. We'll be watching.
Hey, episode 15. Episode 15. Who's the 15? Who's the player that you think of when you number 15?
Vince Carter.
Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo. Mine was Vince Carter too. I was going to see. I thought it might have been unanimous, but episode 15. There's been some good 15s.
The Vince Carter episode.
And Vince Carter retired. Yeah, we're dedicating this one to you, Vince. This is for you.
Vince, if you're listening, we love you.
You know he's listening,
hey, Vince,
for sure.
But don't come back. All right, don't come back.
Hey, so let me ask y'all, how has y'all's 2 weeks been? Because it's been 2 weeks since we had an official podcast. I know we did that live segment when the NBA came back. We had some technical issues, but I think we fixed that. But what do y'all think about the 2-week break that y'all had? Y'all itching to get back on the pod?
Yeah, it was a little too long of a break for me. I mean, we did that little live podcast when we jumped on Facebook Live, which was pretty cool. I liked all the interaction on there, but with all the sports going on, I just wanted to get on the mic and start talking. So I'm glad that we're here. It was a good little time off, though, just to actually just watch the sports and enjoy it, with everything back in full swing. So, yeah, man, just excited to be back.
For sure. I've been talking to Roland and telling him, like, man, bro, we have so much to talk about. A lot's gone down. These games have been wild. Seeds are getting locked up. And then we got baseball going on, too. Every day it seems like a new series is getting canceled due to COVID. Right now it's the Cardinals that have it. But Sports are definitely back in full swing. Excited for tomorrow to see Juventus get bounced from champions. I'm excited for this Rockets and Lakers game tonight, man. Even though some of the stars aren't playing in Westbrook and LeBron, but I'm excited to see how it goes down. We're gonna find out a lot about Dion Waiters tonight.
Yep. You know, I'm excited about tonight's game too. As you mentioned, LeBron's out, so we're gonna see some of the more role players get some action, and hopefully this is their intro to get into the rhythm of things, because playoffs are coming. We're only 4 games away after this, or 3 games I think after this, so it's time to get ready.
Yeah, you guys.
I don't want to
putting your chips on.
I don't want to talk bad on the Spurs or anything, Roland, but man, and I don't follow them like you do. But is it me, or does Pop look like he aged some?
I mean, Pop's like 74, man. So, I mean, I think he looks his age. I think he's looked like that.
No, I feel like he looks older than when he normally comes
Maybe it's
out.
maybe it's because he's wearing.
The stuff in the
He
bubble.
stopped going in for makeup, cuz.
He's probably wearing. He's just out there in polos and sweats.
Yeah.
Like, he's just chilling. Like, yeah, he's like in his bare form right now. But, you know, we'll get into that a little bit later when we go into the kind of who was right, who was wrong thing. 'Cause we all kind of had some predictions going into the bubble, and boy, I know they're 2-2, but they could very easily be 4-0 right now. The Spurs can, and I was wrong on them.
And we got what I would call a Spurs expert joining us today
Yes,
too
we
on
do.
the podcast
Yes, we do.
for some NBA.
Even more than me. He watches
yeah.
way more Spurs ball than I do.
If you go to his Twitter, it is nothing but Spurs talk on game days. It might be some
Not even game days. Just
Whoa.
all the time. It's all Spurs with this guy. So respect.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Let's bring him in then. How
do
about we
it.
bring him in right now? All right, we're talking some NBA right now. We got some quick hitters. As y'all know, like we were mentioning earlier, the Blazers are coming for that 8th seed. And they're coming.
Well, hey.
Before we get to that, hey, hold up. I was just letting people know where we're at.
Who's more
where we're at.
important, bro?
But before
More
we get
important,
to that,
Jobe or the Blazers? Let's be real here. All
all
right?
right. You know, you're right, but I was setting it up. All right, but before we get to that, we got a guest, Jobe. Joby's a big-time Spurs fan, according to the guys. He might be number 1
NBA fan
on
too.
Twitter.
NBA fan for sure.
Yeah, a general NBA fan as well. So we're gonna get some Spurs talk going for sure on this one. But before that, I wanted to talk about that 8th seed, because the Spurs are also a viable candidate to get that 8th seed. But the Blazers are coming in too, really hot. Memphis is just, I mean, they're choking it, guys. They're choking it. Joby, let me know. What do you want that 8th seed?
I want it, of course, as a fan. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate being here.
For sure, man.
I think it's people who are like, oh no, you need to tank, and like, A, the Spurs are in the bubble. They're not going to get a top 10 pick already anyway. A, so that makes no sense. B,
Okay, I agree on that.
B, it's even though they get killed by the Lakers, I'm not saying they wouldn't. They would. But it's just a good experience. You cannot tell me that playing in those type of big games with that kind of intensity, that it would not be good for the young guys. You always see it every year. Anytime we have the Olympics, guys go to the Olympics. They get involved around other guys who are also great. Super intense practices. They come back. They have the best season ever. It happens all the time. Playoffs is better than no playoffs. So I hope they get it, but it's not looking good.
Sticking on the Spurs, are you happy? Because I know you've been one of the main proponents, as I follow you on Twitter, of the young guys getting playing time. So are you happy to see Keldon getting some playing time? Happy to see Derek and DeJounte getting playing time at the same time?
So here's what I was saying yesterday. Derek's already older. Derek was in college for 4 or 5 years. He had his stint at that like culinary school for like a year, 2 years. Then he transferred. Yeah, then he transferred to actual University of Colorado Boulder, and he was there for I think another 2 years. So and then he did another year in the summer league. So he's got a bunch of reps. Derek is who he's going to be. He just needed more playing time. He had a great breakout playoff series against the Nuggets last year. So now he's actually leading the bubble in 3-pointers made right now through the first 4 games. He's taking 7. He's taking 7 a game as opposed to the 3 he was taking in the regular season before the quarantine. So Derek is who he's going to be. He's a solid like.
He's taking all of.
Yeah, he's taking all. He should have had all of Forbes' minutes to begin with. I don't know why he got kind of demoted. I think it's just because Pop loves having a solid bench, and it just didn't work. So Derek is he could be an easily like 20-point and like 7, 8 assist type of guy. He's great defensively. He's Drew Holiday is really what he is. He's like a better Drew Holiday.
I like that.
The other young guys, however, DeJounte and Lonnie.
Jobes has given up on DeJounte.
DeJounte is not having a good bubble. He's not having a good bubble. I love the kid. He's super competitive, but he's not having a good bubble.
I was big on DeJounte. I thought that guy was going to be the future.
I
was like years back. I was
talking
about
He's such a freak athletically. He's so long. He's like a solid 6'4", 6'5", but his wingspan is 7 feet. It's insane. But he's, somebody made this point with running quarterbacks, and you see this a lot with like guys who are really great athletes playing quarterback, like a Cam or a Lamar. They don't ever really develop that pocket awareness because they're just like, I'll just run. Like worst comes to worst. You saw that with Michael Vick. He didn't really like take it super serious, and then when the athleticism goes at some point, or you run into somebody who's more athletic than you are, which is going to happen, you get yourself into trouble. And the very first ball game the Spurs had, DeJounte got cooked by De'Aaron Fox. Absolutely cooked. He was in foul trouble the whole game. De'Aaron Fox did whatever he wanted to do. And it's just because De'Aaron Fox is a better athlete.
Yeah.
So he's struggling right now. And now his confidence is shot. He can't even hit. He's usually pretty reliable in his mid-range game. He's not even hitting that right now. He's gun shy. So that's not looking good. And then Lonnie's another freak athletically, but same thing for him. He kind of gets down on himself when he makes mistakes, and you can just see it. He just gets gun shy too. And
he tweeted he called his dad today for some
he said he talked to his dad today, and that his dad gave him a stern talking, and that he just has to go out there and ball. So hopefully he does.
How young is that kid?
Lonnie's only 21. DeJounte's only 23. DeJounte's pretty close to his ceiling already. By the time you're 22, 23, that's pretty much it. DeJounte's already been in the league for 4 years anyway. I know he missed the season with the knee injury.
When he didn't come back with the jumper, that's when you knew that it just wasn't going to happen.
So, he did come back with the jumper in the regular. Before the team, he was shooting 50%. He was shooting 50% from the field before the quarantine. But right now in the bubble, I think he's just trying to do too much.
I'm a little bit lenient. I'll give him 1 more year before I make my final judgment on DeJounte. So I'll give him next year. But, one last thing before we move on from the Spurs that I want to ask you, Joby, is we were going and tweeting each other yesterday, and you gave me a pretty interesting player comparison for one of the young guys.
I think it's a legit comparison.
I didn't say it wasn't. I just want you to say it here.
I thought it was.
Ben's about to.
I seen it.
Ben's about to laugh in my face.
I saw it.
Let me hear it. I didn't see it.
So the last young guy the Spurs had, well, they have 2 other young guys, but the other young guy that's getting playing time right now is Keldon Johnson.
Yep.
He's a rookie. He just turned 20. He was a teenager 6 months ago. He's 6'5". He's a bigger body. He just has a big frame. I said, and I was thinking about it a lot because people have been asking. I said he's got a lot of heart into his game. Now, I'm not saying he's like the playmaker that Harden is.
Hey,
I'm not saying he's the playmaker Harden is.
So Spurs.
I didn't hide it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's out there in the open. But he gets to the rim and he draws contact a lot. Very Harden-esque when he does that. He's a super strong kid going to the rim. So he has a lot of that to his game. He's not like the most athletic.
I remember him.
Yeah, he's not the most athletic. But like I said, a lot like Harden. Like he doesn't look like he's gonna blow by you. But for whatever reason, he just gets to the rim. He gets the contact, and he usually finishes. So I think Spurs fans are really excited about him now because since Lonnie and DeJounte just haven't taken over with the way we thought they would.
I'll tell you what, if you would have told me that without the context that you just told me, why the comparison of Harden, I'd have said no way.
Yeah.
But you're kind of right about him drawing the fouls going in the rim. He is a strong kid. He's 6'5", 220. So
sounds like him and
there's a piece of it.
Yeah, it
sounds like him and it sounds like him and Derek White belong on the Rockets, man. Derek White likes to shoot threes, and Keldon Johnson needs to be mentored by the beard. All right.
I think those guys have some
You all need a Keldon Johnson tap. Let's be real. The Rockets have zero assets. You need a Keldon Johnson.
We don't need it.
So as far as offseason goes for the Spurs, DeRozan, is he a free agent now coming up?
He can opt in. He can opt in. He's in the. He can opt in if he wants.
What's the word?
A lot of people.
What's the word? What's the word?
I think he's gonna do it personally.
The word is because of the Rona. The word in the Spurs Twitter streets is that he's not gonna opt in because.
I don't think he will.
Or no, I'm sorry. That he is gonna opt in. I'm sorry. That he is gonna opt in. Because of how nobody knows what's going to happen with the cap, and this is like a guaranteed $27 million that he's going to have. That's the word.
Well, not bad for the Spurs.
I think that makes.
I don't
a lot of
like
sense.
it personally, but it makes sense for him financially.
I don't think he'll stay. I think he's pretty competitive, and I think he's going to want to maybe go towards a contender. I think the Spurs are still a little ways away from being a contender. I think we're shifting towards the young guys. We're going to see LaMarcus kind of shuffle out in the next year or two. DeMar, hopefully. Not hopefully, because I do like DeMar DeRozan, don't get me wrong. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate from Spurs fans. I like him. Personally, he's the leader that we kind of need right now just because we don't have anybody else, and he's that guy there. He's a calming, kind of just always even keel kind of guy. That's what I like about DeMar DeRozan. He's not the best three-point shooter. That's never really been his game, and I know that's been a lot of cause of a lot of ire.
He's not close. He's not a three-point shooter at all.
Yeah, he's not a three-point shooter at all. Exactly. That's not his game, though. It never has been his game. He's always been a guy that operates in the mid-range. What's up?
Roland, are you saying that in the stretch that the Spurs are in, the spot that they're in right now, where obviously they're shifting more towards the young guys, they can possibly still compete for a playoff spot, we're seeing, but no title aspirations until obviously some players get better or you draft somebody else. So what you're saying is DeMar's kind of that guy just to be the vet on the team?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, and that's the disconnect, I think, with a lot of
the most consistent bucket on that team.
Yeah, and I think that's the disconnect with a lot of Spurs fans, in my opinion, from what I've seen. And a lot of it is just because we've been at the top of the basketball world since 1999, essentially, with Tim Duncan. And now that we're kind of not, we're in this weird transitional phase. You know, it's easy to point out the best player on the team and say, hey, we're not winning because you're our best player, which I can agree with too, but I also just don't think it's an absolute knock on DeMar DeRozan. You know, like it's obvious. Yeah, a lot of teams aren't going to win with LaMarcus Aldridge as your number one or your number two. Same thing for DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar DeRozan can be a good number two or maybe a number three at this point in his career on a championship contender.
DeMar DeRozan or Chris Middleton?
Shoot, that's a good question because I like to talk shit about Chris Middleton. I'd go DeRozan. I'd go DeRozan.
Oh man,
I'd go Middleton.
I think I'd go Middleton too.
Because he can shoot and he's taller.
Only because of his ability to space the floor. His ability to space the floor.
But that's a tough one.
That's a good one.
Toronto had it right. Toronto had it right. They were putting really good shooters and versatile people, a la the Warriors, who could switch like 1 through 4 defenders, right? And that's what you have to do. And the Spurs they don't have that right now.
Yeah, they
don't have guys who are great, who are like super great defensively to cover up for DeMar. If he's on the floor, the defense is going to take a hit. He's a terrible defender.
Jobes, but is it also like Pop's unwillingness? I would say unwillingness to adapt to the new NBA.
they don't have shooters. That's the thing about it. Like DeJounte isn't a 3-point shooter.
But I mean,
DeJounte's not a 3-point shooter.
But following you, it just seemed like everybody that you followed and everybody who you were having conversations on Twitter with, Spurs-wise, everybody was on the same page that just the young guys needed to get playing time, and it was going to be just as competitive as the roster that Pop was throwing out there.
It would have, yeah. I think had they done this from the beginning of the season, I think they would have gotten a couple more games. I'm not saying they'd be like in a playoff position, but I think they'd be where Memphis is right now. They'd be the 8th seed.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's a playoff position.
Yeah, I mean, like right there,
Maybe
right there on
seventh.
the cusp. But this roster is not what they intended it to be. Obviously, right? Kawhi hijacked the roster, and they just put it together on a whim, right? This wasn't the plan. So, Kawhi could space the floor. They still had Danny Green. That's another guy who could space the floor, although Danny's not doing too hot right now. But
talked about
with
that.
with DeMar, you need shooters, and they just don't have that many, or at least they don't have that many who can shoot and play D. Because if they put Patty and Bryn out there and Marco out there like they were doing during the year, there's zero defense. Absolutely none. They're the worst defense in the league when those guys are on the floor. And that's not their fault. They're just small.
But before we move on from the Spurs, I just want to ask one question because I kind of stuck up for this guy a little bit. I thought he also got a lot of unnecessary hate from Spurs fans. Do you think Bryn Forbes gets the, necessary hate, too much hate, or just enough?
It's too much. It's too much, and I'm also in there on that. I get on the Twitter street,
part of it,
and I curse.
I got killed
one time.
I got killed one time. I commented on somebody's post, and a bunch of these people just started commenting on me and saying that I was an idiot. I'm like, come on, he's the only guy.
It's just Spurs fans aren't very realistic. We're very spoiled.
Sounds like every fan base, though, bro.
Yeah, or every
not realistic.
The thing about it with Bryn is if you leave it in normal context and you look at it like a human being, he's an undrafted kid who shoots damn near 40% from 3, like regularly. Now that's all he can do, but that's pretty legit for an undrafted kid.
It is.
He's gonna have a 10-year NBA career doing that. He won't be with the Spurs next year, but he doesn't deserve that much hate. He's just not a defender. It's not his game, right? He's gonna hit shots, and that's all he's gonna do. You have to have capable defenders out with him.
Last one before we move on. Just a quick question: who leaves first, Aldridge or DeRozan?
DeRozan.
Who's obviously
guaranteed.
The Spurs are gonna try to trade Aldridge, though, right?
I'm not. I got to be honest with you.
Portland
I think
rumors?
they want.
We can transition here. Some Portland rumors. Aldridge.
I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they would make that deal with Portland. I think they want LA to stick around, especially because he was the more willing shooter. Before the quarantine, he was taking like 4 or 5 threes a game, and he was actually hitting like 38%, or even better. I'm not sure, but he was the willing shooter. DeMar, and DeMar's contract just doesn't line up this way. LA still got, I think, another 2 years. He's got this year, another year, and then he's a free agent. DeMar, he's got to opt in. So, I think DeMar's going to opt in, but I think if they could do a sign and trade for DeMar, I think they'll do it.
All right. Well, transitioning to the Blazers, bro. They play right now, coming up here soon against the Denver Nuggets.
I hope they lose.
That's pretty much the last hope here. You need a loss.
So the battle for the 8 and the 9 seed, really. I think we all kind of made some picks. Who did you pick, Ben? You were on the Grizzlies, right?
I had the Grizzlies staying in, and damn it, boy, I'm scratching it.
Hey, I took the Blazers. I like the way they look right now. I think I mentioned they just had the most talent out of any of the contending teams to make a little bit run for sure. So that's kind of how I based my pick. But I will say was not right on everything because I completely I dissed the Spurs. I only gave them 2 out of the 8 games to win, and they've already won.
Yeah, I
2.
know you did. I said at least 4-4.
Yeah,
which is where we're trending right now.
I said they were going to go 2-6, and they're already 2-2, and
the Jazz are sitting everybody tomorrow, so that's a win.
So yeah, I'm already wrong. Really? I think I'm already wrong.
Yeah, Gobert, Conley, Ingles, they're all out tomorrow.
Wow, and that's because the race for the 4 and 5 seed also in the West is right now the Jazz are the 4, the Thunder are the 5, and we're the 6 because we have one less game played.
Okay, but hang on real quick. What does it fucking matter? Nobody has home court anyway.
Yeah,
they're all in Orlando.
It's the matchups.
It's matchup. It's only matchups.
You want to play the Jazz first round. You want to.
Who wants to? Everybody wants to?
As a
Rockets fan,
we need to do everything in our. I think that we could take the Thunder, but god damn that.
You're not taking the Thunder. You're not.
So
you're not.
So Ben, you don't want to play the Jazz? I mean, you don't want to play the Nuggets in the 3 to 6?
I wouldn't mind that, and that would also set us up with a second round matchup against the Lakers because they would get the lowest seed, which you would think would have to be the Rockets at the 6. But bro, I'd rather play the Jazz than the Nuggets. I mean, it's
all right. You don't want to see the Thunder, Pat.
No, I agree. Out of the 3 teams, I would take the Jazz, I would take the Nuggets, then I would take the Thunder.
I don't even think you want the Nuggets with the way MPJ's going off.
Come on, bro.
Who's gonna guard? Who do you have that's gonna guard him?
He's going off on the Spurs. Joby, we're not talking about the Spurs anymore. We moved on.
He went off against who did he have? He had 37 against the Thunder.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. But Jobs, we're not worried.
What do you mean that's fine? Like that's that's not gonna happen to us.
No, but when our record against the Nuggets, we just tend to get Jokic off the floor with the pace that the game is played at. That's usually how it ends up going. The only reason why I'm kind of not wanting to play the Nuggets, why they wouldn't be my first choice over the Jazz, is because they are deep and the coach does play a lot of the players. The bench players on the Nuggets are gritty as hell, bro. And I think that that's something that we struggle with because of how relaxed Harden and Westbrook tend to play at times and how lackadaisical they get with passes. It ends up with bench players like the Nuggets guys who go balls to the wall the whole time they're in the game, making it competitive. But Jamal Murray and Jokic can't beat the Rockets? No. In a series,
MPJ can beat the Rockets.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, I think I would favor the Nuggets in that series.
Well, I would take the Nuggets.
They're the 3 seed, so they would be.
I would take the Nuggets. Sure.
But the other thing is,
you have no one that can guard.
Who's been playing good for the Nuggets too is
that's MPJ. That's
MPJ. MPJ.
Oh, I thought he was talking about.
No, Bol wouldn't see the floor against the Rockets.
Who cares about Bol?
No.
He just got some hype in the scrimmage game.
We're not gonna disrespect Bol like that, Joby. All right, relax. He would get some playing time against other teams.
The scrimmage
the scrimmage god, yeah, he got some hype off of the scrimmages.
He's decent.
Y'all I saw that entire Portland game the other day, Pap. Y'all need to do something different because that shit ain't working. Y'all starters in the 58 minutes that you've been back, you could easily be 0-3. Y'all starters, offensive rating 105, defensive rating 115. For a net rating of negative 9.7.
Nice.
In the 15
the record,
minutes on the floor.
But we're the only ones playing basketball. We're the
2
only
and 1.
ones playing basketball.
Could easily be 0-3.
Where you let it fly 60 times a game from the 3-point line, and that's how you get out rebounded by 28 rebounds and still beat the biggest team in the NBA in the Milwaukee Bucks. That's how it happens.
They're not the biggest. The Lakers are bigger.
The Bucks are the biggest team in the league, bro. With the 2
the Nuggets.
The Nuggets are.
Oh yeah, with Bol, but
yeah.
Right.
With Porter Jr. and Millsap and Jokic on the
and Mason Plumlee. Plumlee gets some playing time in there too. Yeah. So
my question to Roland a bit off air was, how many of these teams do we expect to dribble up court, slow it down, feed it into their post, and try taking advantage of the size mismatch for most of the game. Who's going to be that disciplined, get out of their offense, and try trading 2 for 3 every possession and count on a guy like Nurkic? I thought Nurkic was going to have 30 or 40 on us. He was just missing so many bunnies. Like, guys are going to have to be making little hook shots. It's not going to always be dunks or layups. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the problem the Rockets have is that what happens, or maybe teams don't. Let's say you play James straight up, and you just tell James to do it all himself. He's not going to hit every shot.
Who does that nowadays?
Nobody does that. Exactly. Nobody does that. So you do what Portland did the other night. You trap James. He gets rid of it, and you tell all the rest of the guys, "Hey, load up. You shoot as many threes as you want." And if they play their averages, they're going to only hit 35%.
And I think that's going to be their ultimate downfall.
35% of 60 is good.
That's going to be their downfall.
Rebounds,
they're going to go cold in a series.
It's so easy to defend the Rockets.
Oh, okay. It's so easy, Joby. Half of those threes were wide open. How is it that easy?
That's the point. They were wide open by design.
Bro, a wide open shot to an NBA player is not easy to defend.
You would think, and they missed a lot of
because
people are going to start letting Russell Westbrook. People are going to start letting Russell Westbrook
against the Bucks. They were going in, and what happened?
Think so,
oh yeah, no, I think so. And I made the comment the other day too on Twitter is that teams are bailing Russell Westbrook out by giving him the middle of the lane and letting him drive in and dish it. Just let him shoot. Give him the Ben Simmons treatment. He obviously does not want to shoot the three ball. But what I was trying to say is I think the Rockets, and Ben and I were talking about it earlier, is yes, they are a volume 3-point shooting team, but they are not a good 3-point shooting team. And I think that's going to ultimately be their downfall over the course of a playoff series. I think
you're going to see that.
They can get hot. I think they can win a first-round series, but push come to shove when they play that 1 or 2 seed, wherever they land, they're going to end up losing. I think the Clippers, if they end up in the 5 seed or whatever would rank them going up against the Clippers in the next round, in the 7, they would.
That would be if we got the 4 or the 3.
Okay,
we would play
exactly.
the Clippers. Right now, we're set up to play the Lakers in the second round, which is the matchup that I want.
So I think the Clippers would match up well with the Rockets. I think I would give the Rockets a chance against the Lakers because I do think they present some problems out on the perimeter with just the amount of guys that they have lining up, going 4 and 1, or a 4 wide and 1 in the post, or 5 on the perimeter and 0 in the post. I think that presents some problems for the Lakers, but ultimately, the Rockets, they're shooting a lot of threes right now, but I just don't think they're going to hit at a clip to where they're going to threaten anybody to win the title right now, unless they just go on a crazy streak. But they don't have.
That's fair.
Yeah,
they haven't done it. That's fair.
And jump shooting teams, unless you're named the Golden State Warriors, you're going to end up going cold more times than not. So.
And I didn't pick the Rockets to win the title.
No, I didn't say you did either. I mean? Yeah.
I think that it's a matchup nightmare for us as soon as we play the Clippers. I've been saying that for the past episodes, but there's certain teams. The Lakers have failed to score 102 out of the 4 games in the bubble. There's just certain teams that we're going to give trouble because of how much we're going to score. And the Lakers right now haven't been shooting the best from downtown at all. Like,
for sure.
Who's their best 3-point shooter? The Lakers. We were saying it's either Kuzma or AD, and that's
KCP.
And that's not good.
KCP.
I like our chances.
That's true. So,
all right, well, let's bring it to the East real quick. I want to talk about the 2 top teams over there. So we're doing some Western talk. Who's a stronger team at the moment? The Raptors or the Bucks?
I think you still got to give the benefit of the doubt to the Bucks. I think they still have the best record in the NBA. They still have the front runner for the MVP and Giannis, and I think they're the deepest team in the East. But I will say, I think the Raptors, they have experience with beating the Bucks last year. Granted, they had Kawhi Leonard, but I think they kind of have a formula, and they also are a pretty deep team as well. So I think the Raptors are a definite threat to the Bucks. But I would just say the Bucks are probably still the best right now, in my opinion.
Anybody think different than that?
I like the Raptors. I don't trust Giannis. Especially, Bledsoe's still not playing, right?
Minutes restriction. They're bringing him back
he's
in.
Playing already. He's playing already.
So right now, the Bucks with their current starting lineup, they're lighting it up. Their offensive rating is 142. But as soon as you bring another guy who's not a reliable shooter like a Bledsoe on the floor, it shrinks the floor. And Giannis is going to have the ball in his hand. They're going to dare him to shoot. He's not going to hit him. Toronto's the best defensive team in the league next to OKC. Their defensive rating right now, their starters is 72 per 100 possessions. That's insane.
Yeah.
Nick Nurse, and a lot of people think Nick Nurse is a legit NBA coach.
There's arguments that he's the best coach out there. There is arguments.
Yeah. So if Toronto and Milwaukee meet again, I'm taking the Raptors, even though they don't have the star power.
And the other thing that I like about the Raptors, because I'm still riding the Heat. I like the Heat as far as matching up with everybody. I think that they've been playing well, but as far as the Raptors and the Bucks, I gotta agree with and go with the Raptors based off of experience. And I like Siakam on Giannis. I like it. I think that he's fast enough to move with him. He's long enough to really make it as difficult as maybe just Bam Adebayo is the only other guy. Bam Adebayo is the other guy that I could think that could give Giannis a difficult time. But I like the Siakam matchup against Giannis. And then they have a couple of guys. Serge Ibaka is also
OG Anunoby.
Yeah, OG Anunoby and Serge Ibaka is also a very viable option to meet Giannis in the paint.
They have a ton of bodies to throw at Giannis. They could switch it up as much as they want.
So somebody offered you a bet today to pick who's coming out of the East. Neither of you would pick the Bucks.
I'm not taking the Bucks.
Out of the East.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I'm sure I can find good value on Toronto to win the East. I might take that right now.
I'm not 100% sold on the Bucks coming out of the East, but just answering the question who I think the better team is, I still do think it's the Bucks. In a playoff series, though, I'm not willing to say or put money on them to beat the Raptors, the Celtics, or maybe even the Heat. I think they have trouble with all three of those teams. I don't think the Celtics necessarily have somebody to match up with Giannis one-on-one. I think probably their best option is Jaylen Brown. Beating him up, at which point I think Giannis will take him out ultimately. But, man, the formula I think is still out on Giannis, man. Just don't.
Roland.
I was tripping out so hard when I forgot what game I was watching, but they were closing out on Giannis like he was going to kill him from the three-point line. Do not close out that hard on him. It's just that simple. Just give him the perimeter, and you're going to be okay. I think that's what we saw in the playoff series last year against the Raptors. They just packed the paint against him, built a wall, and dared the other guys to beat him. And that's why I said earlier today that Chris Middleton, you're not going to win anything with him as your number two. So Giannis, he's going to be in the Bay pretty soon. I'm just saying that right now.
He might.
He's not sticking around with Chris Middleton as his number two.
I don't think
something's going to change.
Roland, I know you had something about Harden and Giannis going on in the topics.
I do want to talk about it just because the little bite or the little sound bite from James Harden is probably the greatest sound bite of all time. of just talking shit about another player, another active player. I don't think I've seen another player talk crap that openly about it. Granted, James Harden was not the one that started it. It was Giannis that started this whole crap shit talking with the All-Star game, saying that he was looking for James Harden to get matched up on because he's the worst defensive player, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
What was the game plan? Give the ball to whoever Harden's guarding?
Yeah, give the ball to whoever Harden's guarding. And then he also said he skipped him in the pick
Kyle Lowry over him.
Exactly. He skipped him and said that he wants guys that are going to pass the ball. Like those are completely unnecessary comments, in my opinion. I mean, granted, they're probably just having some friendly banter, but it got the ire of James Harden. And in that Rachel Nichols interview, he was like, man, I wish I could be 7 feet tall and just run around with no skill and dunk around and dunk on everybody. He's like, I have to learn how to play the game of basketball. I take a lot of pride in that. So I actually kind of agree with what James Harden's saying. Not that I don't think that Giannis is an unskillful player, but I do think a lot of Giannis's success is because he's 6'8", 11 and can run like a freaking horse, and nobody can really stick with that. So, I don't know.
2 steps.
Yeah, and James Harden, James Harden beat him up twice in that.
The game on the line.
The game on the line, exactly.
And made him look pretty foolish also.
He got the matchup that he wanted. And Giannis tried bailing out, and he ended up turning over the ball.
Twice.
I got bad news for you, Pep. You're not going to see Giannis unless you get to the finals, and that's not going to happen. So.
Well, good. I don't want to see Giannis.
It's all for naught. Yes, you do. The Rockets would beat the Bucks.
But you also said Giannis isn't getting there, so I mean I wouldn't see him
there either. Yeah, he's not getting there either.
So I guess the whole point of me putting that in the little topics is: do you think there's any credence to what James Harden said, or do you think he was just?
That's what you mean.
Yeah. So do you guys agree?
Giannis is. He's like skinny Shaq. Somebody said this the other day. He's like skinny Shaq in Orlando with a better handle. That's really what he is.
Let me tell you what somebody, I'm not going to name a name. I'm going to keep him anonymous because you might not have a sports conversation with him after I tell you some of these takes. I just want to know if y'all agree with the comparison as far as calling him unskilled because offensively he just drives and dunks. Somebody said that was LeBron up until year 2 of Miami offensively.
No, not even close.
Offensively, that LeBron only had one move up until that second year in Miami.
He scored 28 points straight against the Pistons in his second year. I think, Ben, you brought up that example when we were talking about this pre-production. I mean, you don't do that just driving to the bucket. He was hitting shots all over Chauncey Billups.
Bron had a fairly reliable jumper. Giannis does not.
Yeah,
and that was even dating back to the Cavs days. Like, yeah, it got better, but his whole argument based on this skill thing was that series against the Mavs. That was the whole predicate of it. Like, he couldn't even post up Jason Kidd or JJ Barea in the fourth.
Well, that series against the Mavs was more mental for him.
It was, and he even came out and said it publicly and said, it
was more mental for him.
It was D-Wade's team. This same person gave me the take that Russell Westbrook is weak-minded.
He's probably too strong-minded, and that's probably like the worst thing.
He's a bull.
Now you understand why I didn't name the person who said these takes. You might never have a sports conversation with them again. All right?
Is this my boy Dukes?
Listen, Joe.
No names.
No names.
It's your boy. It's your boy.
Shout out Dukes. Listen to this.
It's your boy. But not Dukes. Not Dukes.
Boy.
I would check Dukes before he started saying anything like that. I'd be like, hey, Dukes, relax. You're out of line. You're out of line,
bro. You've had too many.
But even when we compare the whole Harden versus Giannis with the skill thing, I mean, you got Harden. A lot of people say that the whole foul thing it's not much skill, just scoring all your points from the free throw line. Although some skill does come into drawing those fouls, but then, he patented that step back. The step back is where it is in the NBA right now because of him bringing it to relevance. So I would have to agree, honestly, as far as the whole skill and not skill thing. I mean, Giannis Shaq with handles is the comparison. It's not
what he is
before year 7. It's Shaq with handles. That's the comparison.
Like go back and watch some of those highlights of Shaq in Orlando, like in year 1, 2, 3. So sometimes he would get the rebound and he would just take off. He would lead the break, and that's basically what Giannis does. And then Shaq gained all the weight, and then he was like, you know what? I'm just going to dominate the paint. But that's the kind of stats Giannis puts up. Occasionally he hits a jumper. Occasionally.
Just don't close out hard on Giannis. Just don't do it. It pains me when I see that.
That's the reason why. Like, honestly, I don't trust the Bucks. In the playoffs, you got to hit shots. The floor gets shrinked. They're not going to do it.
It's when you see a guy airballing jumpers, bro. Like it's just
free throws.
And it happens often. More. I'm not even going to say rarely, but it happens often that he airballs completely, whether it's from 3 or from the free throw line.
3-point shot to win the game. Your life is on the line. Who would you rather have take the shot, Giannis or Ben Simmons?
I think I would take Giannis in that one. He's more comfortable.
Wait. So can each of them get like 10 attempts?
Yeah, 10 attempts. Who do you think's gonna hit
No,
him?
Jones,
Okay,
you die.
I'll take Giannis.
Die.
I'll take Giannis.
Simmons at this point, I think he's finally
If
hitting
they
some
have
shots.
if they have my life in their hands, I want them to have more than just one attempt.
If it's just one attempt, I mean, just give me the
Yeah,
guidance.
that's
Let it happen
it.
already.
That's it.
What's-
It's like I'll
what's-
just end this myself.
What's been y'all's
Get me in the
that's
head.
it all.
What's been y'all's biggest surprise of the bubble?
TJ buckets.
TJ Buckets. When he had the Kawhi cornrows, bro, you knew he meant business. Like nobody wears it. If people are still wearing their hair like that, it's because they get buckets. All right.
Nah, you know what none of us said though? The Suns. Nobody said anything about the Suns.
We have it here. Rolling foot. Devin
We have
Booker.
it
Oh, you
the
did?
guy.
Okay.
On Devin Booker.
The Suns are now 4-0 in the bubble.
My biggest surprise is still the Spurs. I didn't think they were going to come out very competitive, and
They're
they
2-2.
did the
That's on brand for this season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Joe,
but they should be 4-0 though. That's the thing. That
They could have been.
yeah.
My
My biggest.
My biggest surprise is probably how bad the Jazz have looked and how bad the Pelicans have looked would be another one. I mean,
Grizzlies too.
The Pelicans.
Grizzlies
well,
too.
but the Grizzlies have an excuse, man. I mean, Jaren Jackson injured and out. I mean, they obviously hadn't won a game before that either, right?
Exactly.
They should have beaten the Spurs. There was no excuse there. But John Morant hasn't been looking too hot, right?
I
Still,
kind
No, but-
of feel bad for Zion.
I was real wrong about the Blazers. I didn't think it was gonna be.
Yo,
think
the
get
Blazers.
up
yeah,
there
the
and
Blazers. That's the one loss that the Rockets had, and man, they just wanted it more, bro. They played like they needed it, like they played with the desperation. And the whole thing about the 9 seed having a series with the 8 seed was because Dame said, "I'm not going out there if I don't have a chance to make the playoffs." So they added all these kinks, and it was, I mean, to help the Blazers and Zion both. Let's be honest, it
Have a
wasn't all
chance,
just
yeah.
Dame's doing. In the Eastern Conference, it's out of the picture. Like the playoffs are set. The Wizards
All the way
Wizards
to the-
dropped down to a lower record than a team that's not even in the bubble, bro.
The Hornets.
So the Hornets land
See that
tomorrow.
today?
Yeah, the Hornets land tomorrow in Florida, and the Wizards are going back to the capital.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind
man,
that.
was the
They
funniest-
want to
that
get
was
out of
the
there.
Funniest thing.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
but-
bad.
I need the Spurs to resign Davis.
I know, man. I've said it maybe like 2 podcasts already that I'm still mad at that more. Which one was it, Joby? Was it Marcus or Markeith that screwed over the Spurs? I keep on confusing.
The Knicks one.
Marcus.
Hold on with the Knicks.
Dumb, man.
The one
You
that's
should have
the one that
Bertans.
signed with the Clippers.
So
Clippers,
stupid.
Marcus. Clippers, Morris.
He is the better one of the two, also.
Yeah, they're both.
Yeah,
nice.
I still
think
hate
so
him.
too. But yeah, I hate him too. I'm pissed off about that still. But yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about Devin Booker and the Sun?
Let me just give you a live
Yeah.
score update before that. 21-20, Blazers up on the Nuggets. Almost going to be end of the
Oh,
story
come
here.
on, Nuggets. Pull it out.
Nice, and we got
what do y'all make of them benching? A lot of these teams benching players, like we said. Do you think that some teams need to get in rhythm because they haven't looked so good in the bubble? Do you think that bench players?
Rhythm and shape, get their legs back. I
The,
mean,
the Lakers
Rhythm.
need to figure something out. The Lakers need to figure something out. Their starting unit cannot score. It's awful. Their starting unit has like the worst offensive rating since they've been back of any starters. I think it's like at 70. It's awful. They just don't have any shooting.
I've been trying to have
Danny
a serious
Green-
convo. I've been trying to have a serious convo with Lakers fan too, Joe's, because it's
Not gonna
they've just
happen.
been pretty much saying we have the number 1 seed wrapped up. With these games, they don't matter. Like, what are they for? But it's the product doesn't look that good, man. And they've been playing like it.
They're-
I
they
think
need to
gonna
get into a
see-
rhythm.
They're going to see the Blazers in round 1, and the Blazers are going to push them.
Not
think they'll-
beat them.
I think
Not
they'll
beat
push
them.
them.
I don't think that
I
the
don't think they'll
Blazers
beat
beat
them
them.
either.
No.
Yeah.
But I do see a 6-game series rather
goes
than what was
6
going to
or
be a
7.
sweep. Than what was
It
going to
goes
be a
6 or
sweep
7.
against the Grizzlies,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I
but
agree. I think that the Lakers need to play, and I mean, AD is playing today. Braun is sitting, but they got to mesh, man. They got to see where Waiters likes the ball.
And-
Some some
And
of
in
these
general,
players,
too, though, like just outside of the Lakers, I do think a lot of the maintenance on the players, I think it's absolutely necessary. Like, you don't want to, take a 4-month break and then run everybody into the ground. Like, they're going to need some rest, It's kind of tough, kind of weighing what to do. But, just circling back to the Lakers, I don't know. I'm kind of for it. I don't think you want to push these guys right off the bat and kind of got to get into a rhythm. But the Lakers are in a precarious situation because they have locked up the number 1 seed 2 games into the 8-game little seeding games. So I do think they have an opportunity to work some of these guys in that are role players and determine who's going to be on their short list of the lineup. Because, the lineups shrink in the playoffs. You're only running with a 8-man lineup maybe. So they're trying to find who these next 3 guys are going to be. So, and I don't think it's solidified for them yet.
Well, they're going to run into the Blazers, and the Blazers are going to be going full speed, all out, super intense, super competitive, every single game in the bubble.
Yeah, true. Very true.
They're going to come into that opening. They'll steal game 1. They'll push it to 6 or 7, easy.
That's why the Blazers in a weird situation, locking it up.
The Blazers are going to push them. The Lakers need to figure something out.
And then we remember the Blazers were the ones that spoiled, what was the first game back after the passing of Kobe. You remember that Rachel Nichols interview, like, how do you feel about when she asked Dame, how do you feel about beating them on the night where they were remembering Kobe? Like what type of question is?
Yeah, that's a weird question.
What are you asking?
What do you want me to do?
That was an ESPN question. It's an ESPN question.
Yeah, that was an ESPN
question. That type of shit right there.
Yeah. So I'm going to read the Suns' remaining games here because they are 4-0 since returning. They got the Heat, the Thunder, the Sixers, and then the Mavericks.
It's a tough schedule.
Sign me up for 8-0, baby.
That is a tough.
But
Sign me up for 8-0.
Okay.
They took out the Clippers. We said Paul George just gets shots hit on him. He couldn't have played better defense besides blocking it on that one.
I took out the Pacers.
And
Devin Booker. Big time.
Had a close one against the Mavericks.
And DeAndre Ayton's really good also, man.
Well, he was the number 1 pick for a reason, Pep.
The Suns can be a problem next year.
That mid-range jumper it's automatic, bro.
The Suns are putting a nice team together.
Yeah, it's very consistent.
The Suns might spoil my Spurs party.
What's Devin Booker's ceiling?
Well, I'm gonna read this.
What's Devin Booker's ceiling to you guys? Do you think he's
that is ceiling. His
ceiling is leaving the Suns. That's his ceiling.
So do you see, what I'm trying to say is, do you see a scoring title in his future? Do you see an MVP in his future? Do you see any of those things in his future? That's kind of what I'm trying to ask.
I think he can be a number 2 on a championship team. I think had he gone to the Lakers, which were rumored that they were trying to make it happen prior to the season, I think that would have shored up a title. For damn sure. Like, the dude can create his own shot, and he's just knocked down from 3. Like,
he's not gonna win an MVP in Phoenix. They're never gonna win enough games.
But even if he left, Job's like, what type of place would you?
Chicago? Yeah, do you think he'll be a top 10 player throughout his career?
Oh, if he goes to Chicago, what is Chicago? Phoenix North? No, it's awful. Man.
He's a number 2 on a good team.
I agree with you, Ben. He's a number 2 on a legit team. He could be a number 2 on a title team. He's a multiple-time All-Star. I don't think he's going to be a scoring champion. I think he
could be a scoring champion.
I think he can be a scoring champion.
Let's say you match him up with Giannis.
There you go. If he ends up in like Milwaukee, like that, then now the Bucks are a real contender because they can do their 5 out with Giannis at the center. They have enough shooting with him and Middleton around Giannis. Now you can't build the wall on Giannis. You have to play him straight up because he's going to kick it out to one of those guys and they're going to knock it down.
The other thing I would think. What if you put him with Embiid?
I think that's a better matchup than what Embiid has with Simmons right now too, because they have spacing problems.
Trade Simmons for fucking
Devin Booker.
Thinking out for Devin Booker, yeah.
If
I'm sure Embiid would be happy about that.
That would be the Sixers are going to want to do a deal because everybody in Philly is going to be screaming at Elton Brand that this didn't work, and it's not going to work. They're going to get taken out in like the first round.
Well,
All
Simmons
the
dislocated
tanking.
his kneecap. And
Oh
he's
yeah,
out
that too. Yeah, so
indefinitely.
he's out. So
All the tanking for
if
nothing.
if the Suns and the Sixers do a deal, that would be super beneficial for both sides because Simmons in Phoenix makes a lot of sense, and Booker in Philly makes a lot of sense. It gives Embiid the floor spacer he needs.
Shoot, Embiid
So
spaces the floor more than Simmons. That's crazy.
Simmons in Phoenix wouldn't be what he is with Embiid. Just him and Ayton. Wouldn't it be the same thing?
It'd be the same thing. There's no spacing.
He's
I
just a
don't know.
bigger Ricky Rubio.
Yeah. So they would have to figure out what they would do with Rubio unless you keep Rubio. I don't know how
Or
who would,
you just play
unless
Simmons
they do
at
it
the
straight
four.
up.
You play him at the 4. Chill, bro.
Fuck it. I mean, that's his size. He's a power forward. Just
I
put
mean,
him
I
down
guess
there on the floor.
defensively he could guard whoever, but do you want to
Yeah.
have Rubio can stay on the point guard? I guess that's true. Yeah, but
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they keep Rubio, like let's say you do it straight up, Booker for Simmons, and so now you have Simmons, Rubio, Ayton. Those are 3 high quality defenders. Basically, what you're going to say is like, fuck it, we're not going to score. We're just going to shut you down. And that's basically what the Thunder are doing right now. The Thunder's offense isn't great, but they're playing great defense.
They got that point guard.
I would like Miami to trade some assets for Devin Booker. Devin Booker out of Bio and Butler.
That'd be a nice
wins,
little combo.
I think that wins you a title. Trade Tyler Hero, give him none. Some draft picks.
I like Tyler Hero on the Heat. And
I like
also
Tyler Hero, though.
Duncan Robinson a
Why
lot,
give him
too.
up? I mean, Tyler Hero might be Booker. He's pretty much the
He
same.
could be. He could be. He has
He-
that kind
plus-
of game in him, too.
Plus, I mean, I like what Miami has right now. I think Miami.
They're my dark horse. They're my dark horse.
Yeah, they're there. They could be there. They probably just need a better bench.
Yeah. Duncan Robinson has been lights out, man. Jimmy hasn't
Duncan
been
Robinson.
Unconscious.
Duncan Robinson is
shoot.
Duncan Robinson is Klay Thompson East. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's just not the defender, but he could. I was watching that game against the Celtics the other night. Somebody was in his jersey, and this dude just drained it.
He's one of those guys that a lot
He's
of
legit.
need, and it was like what Bogdanovich was for the Jazz, and it's what they're missing. A guy that could shoot on the move, like catch the ball like JJ Redick, shoot shifting sideways, because you have a clear look. That's all you need. But you can shoot on the move, and that's what Duncan Robinson is as well.
Unconscious.
Duncan Robinson should have been a Spur. Why is he not a Spur with the name Duncan Robinson?
That's what
Makes no
everybody's
sense.
saying about Porter Jr., man. The Knicks
Makes no
fans are
sense.
shooting themselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm. But he had a lot of uncertainty around him
Taking
coming into
Devin
the
Knox,
NBA.
taking
with those
Devin
back
Knox.
injuries.
I got another question for you guys. Now that we've seen half of the bubble go by, as far as final predictions, do you have a different final prediction than when we started the bubble? And what are y'all looking towards the rest of the bubble, the last 4 games?
I'm looking to get matched up with the Jazz. That's pretty much all I care about, bro.
That's all you need.
but I
That
said
is
finals, the finals.
all
What
the
do you-
finals. I still got the Clippers. I know their bubble hasn't been the best. Tough loss to Devin Booker, but Montrez is coming back, and Montrez gives that team. Him and Patrick Beverly give that team the energy that they need. So I'm still.
Hey, just see
I'm
it as
going.
Laker
I'm
fan,
going
yeah?
Clippers, Heat, finals. That's my pick. Clippers.
Okay. I'm not changing much. I know I said I had the Trailblazers making the 8 seed. I think so far through 4 games, it looks like they have probably the best chance of getting that 8 seed, whether they end up in the 9 in that play-in series or they end up in the 8 and still in the whatever. But I think they're going to end up in that 8 seed. And then the other thing that I think I had the Clippers also coming out of the West. I'm sticking with the Clippers. And the Celtics, man, I want to change my dark horse team from them to the Raptors, and the reason why I'll say that is because the Celtics offer no resistance in the post whatsoever. I mean, Daniel Theis is their main big man.
And
You're not going to
Cantor.
win. And Cantor, you're not going to win a championship with those 2 guys as your front line. This probably might be the weakest front line of any of the teams remaining right now in terms of
The
real
Rockets.
contenders. The Rockets, sure. But in the East, I don't know. So I like the Raptors to come out of the East now.
Now you're thinking, Roland.
But I'd still like the Celtics. I just like their players. I'm a big Jaylen Brown fan.
I like Jaylen Brown. I'm going.
Joby, your
I'm
final
going
prediction?
Lakers Raptors. I know the Lakers, like I said, they're having a lot of trouble, but Braun was pushing for this hard, and although it's always a trip because I still think Kawhi is, but it's just something about, I don't know, it's just something about like the way Kawhi
you
carries
hate
himself.
Kawhi.
Like, I hate him, but like at the same time,
He couldn't find it himself to say Clippers, so he said Lakers. I hope
No.
everybody.
Like at the same time, chemistry matters, and nobody in Toronto is like, oh yeah, Kawhi is a great teammate. Nobody said that. Nobody's been saying like, hey, we miss Kawhi. Like
They were
I
all
think the
calling
Lakers
for him to come back for one more year, though.
better,
Come on,
better
Joe.
chemistry. They like each other better. They need to figure something out with their
Taco
starting
Tuesday.
lineup. They need to bench Danny Green and put in like JR or Dion Waiters. I hate it, but they need the offense, so they have to do that.
So you got the Lakers in the finals, and
And the Raptors.
their third best player is going to be, so just on the Lakers, who are they going to be relying on to make shots? They're going to be relying on Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith.
On Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith. But that's the thing about it. I think
and you're picking them to go to the finals, knowing that.
yes.
Damn,
It
It could be a destiny thing. It could be a destiny thing too.
This is what I tweeted this out. I think after the first bubble game. Look at just the group of knuckleheads that Braun has, and he's gonna do it again. He did it in the East with a bunch of just morons, and you put Melo where Braun is right now, and this team is like not even in the playoffs. That's how good he is. And I think
nobody's saying he's not that good. Joe's
No, I know.
These knuckleheads are gonna have to make shots, man.
I believe in. If there's one thing JR and Dion Waiters can do, is to make shots.
They're bucket getters for sure.
They are bucket getters. They're stupid. They make mistakes. They're gonna do stupid things, but they get buckets, and that's all the Lakers need. With the length that they have between Braun, AD, and Kuzma or JaVale McGee, whoever, I think they should go small.
JaVale's been playing good. JaVale has been playing good.
They should probably switch their starting lineup to AD at the 5, Braun at the 4, Kuzma. And then either JR or Dion and KCP. They need to bench Danny Green because Danny Green hasn't been doing anything.
The beloved Laker Caruso, Jobes. He's in the
Caruso.
closing lineup. Caruso's in the closing lineup.
He's about to lose some playing time. Rondo's coming back.
Caruso's going to shut it down. He's going to be there fourth quarter minutes.
Justin, your picks, have they changed?
You know, just because I'm a homer, Lakers, of course. And I think the Raptors, man, I are playing pretty good. I'm going to go Raptors.
Raptors have a good impression.
Yeah. And I'm also with the whole Giannis is not going to be a buck next year. So I think this is another reason why.
One last thing. If the Clippers win the championship, is there any question who the best player in the NBA is?
No. I mean, Kawhi should get more respect right now that he does. He doesn't get enough
I agree.
respect.
I think Kawhi is. I was having this conversation.
Kawhi's
He's
better
the
than
queen
Giannis.
piece on the chessboard.
KD?
Kawhi wins this ring, and he's in just a status I don't know if anybody else is in as far as 3 teams.
Right now, NBA fans should say Braun, Kawhi, and KD. Obviously, KD's hurt, so you say Braun, Kawhi, and Giannis. But Kawhi is better than Giannis, and I don't even think it's debatable.
Yep, I agree too.
I agree. Well,
that's it for
Thanks.
NBA talk. Joby, it was a pleasure having
Appreciate you, fellas.
anything you want to put? Anything you
plug
want
your
to
Twitter.
I want to plug. I guess I can plug my Twitter.
And your gym.
Yeah,
At
plug it all, bro.
Jobes JOBES 44. I will talk about Spurs, and then I will also. If you follow me though, I'm just gonna warn you right now. I'm gonna talk about the Spurs. I'm gonna talk a lot of shit about Trump, and I'm gonna occasionally tweet out something about health and fitness, and that's about it.
Yeah.
That's the right way to use your platform.
Jobes is the master. Jobes has a reputation here in my house. Always leaves before the main event of the UFC. Gone as soon as the co-main finishes. Joby's out the door. He'll get here, barbecue, watch all the fights, and dip before the main event. And bro, he is the master of tweeting about games he did not watch.
That too.
Oh,
Sometimes I'll check box scores, but sometimes box scores are legit. Anyways, Rockets suck. Peace.
Later,
All right,
Jones.
man.
Later.
All right. We're at that portion of the podcast where we talk about what's unfortunate in sports is this pandemic going on in the world, and not just in sports, but it has been a big issue for sports getting back. And Dr. Saucy's here to let us know what's going on in college football and the NFL
Yeah.
and the MLB.
Yeah, I just got back from Washington, actually. I had a conference with Mr. Trump. No, I'm kidding. Did you guys see me throw out the first pitch?
I thought it was throwing out that
season?
horrible.
I thought you could have done better.
No, I hadn't thrown it in a while.
You do what you did.
And a lot of people were giving me crap for not wearing my mask either. But this open air space, I thought it was okay. I don't know.
You could have taken off your shoe and thrown that with your foot, and it would have been better. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to get them next time. Hopefully there won't be a next time, though, because the coronavirus will be gone by this time next year. But anyways, just getting into it, and we'll kind of focus a little bit more on football this time around, because they're the ones that are trying to get up and going or up and running with a lot of their camps starting. The teams are starting to ramp up their team practices. A lot of teams have reported, and as everybody's well aware, today was the deadline for NFL player opt-outs. So if you were deciding not to play this year, you had to make the NFL and your team aware that you were not showing up. You can't pull a Vic Beasley and not show up and not opt out either. So it's got to be one or the other. Yeah, or Cespedes and just bail on the team 3 or 4 games into the season. But there was a lot of drama today on Twitter with Tre'Davious White talking about fans giving him a lot of trouble when it comes to opting out or even thinking about opting out, which he ended up opting in, and he's going to play this season. But just a few notable players that have opted out. Super Bowl champion Damian Williams, he's opted out. The starting guard for the Chiefs as well, Devarney Tardif, has opted out as well. But no team has been hit quite like the New England Patriots.
Nope.
They've had about 8 or 9 players opt out, and they've all been pretty considerable players. Patrick Chung is in there, Dante Hightower is there, Marquise Lee is another player that's opted out, Brandon Bolden, and I believe I saw, well, no, he's not a Patriots player, but Nate Soldier, he's a former Patriots player, he's on the Giants now, he also opted out. So the NFL, they're having some trouble, I guess, with players opting out, but a positive sign is only 56 players have tested positive since reporting to training camp. So that's about 2%. I think the NBA, when they got started, they were at about 1%. But it gives you a little bit of a positive outlook for the NFL when it comes to their ability to maybe maintain or keep the virus out of their facilities and probably avoid some of the problems that the MLB is going on. But I'll stop here since I've reeled off a couple of things on the NFL. Do you guys think that the non-bubble aspect for the NFL is going to end up coming and biting them in the butt?
Terrible.
I think so.
I think we've already seen it with the MLB. That it's not going to work.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is they're not going to have as many games as MLB, so that might be the way that it gets better. But regardless, these players are going to be going home and then coming back, having contact with everybody. And once one player brings it into the facility, I mean, that's what we've seen with baseball. It's over with for that team, bro. They're canceling 3-game series. Teams are having to sit out a whole week. We saw it with the Marlins. We saw it with the Phillies. And now we're seeing it with the Cardinals, to the point where the MLB commissioner had to say, hey, teams, y'all need to get it together and do a better job, or else we're just going to can the whole season. So I'm not very confident in the non-bubble aspect. I think every sport that's going on inside of a bubble has had no problem running. MLS, WNBA, NBA, hockey is even in a bubble over there in Canada. So poor planning, bro. I mean, I understand that everybody has to get their revenue from playing at their home stadium, even though there's no fans. I don't know how how it's gonna work, but it's stupid, bro.
I think they've already said that they're gonna go 50% in terms of who the fans that they're letting into the stadiums, because, and I'm glad you guys brought that up. I had that here on the list. If they don't, if they have no fans all season. And the money talks, bullshit walks, guys. And that's kind of what's happening right now with the NFL. They would lose an estimated $7 billion, not million. They would lose $7 billion and they ran the whole season with no fans. That's a humongous ripple effect when you start thinking about the cap situation, among other things. Just salary-wise, that's a huge, huge hit to your bottom line if you're going to run the season without fans. So I think the NFL, they've always shown where their heart is, and their heart is with that green dollar. That's really what they care about at the end of the day. They say they're caring about player safety, but if they really did care about player safety, I think we would see an adjusted schedule. They ended up releasing their schedule knowing that there's going to be some travel problems, there's going to be some things that could potentially hold you back, but they kept everything the same. They even are telling teams that have, for example, I forget who it is, but there's a team that plays the Giants and the Jets in consecutive weeks. Instead of having that team, normally stay on the East Coast like they typically would, the NFL is requiring that these teams fly back to their home state or their home states or wherever they're from. So if you have, like, for example, the 49ers who make an East Coast trip, they're asking them to go back and forth in between weeks, which makes no sense whatsoever. I think the NFL has done a pretty bad job of planning out for this thing. And, there's a lot of worries, even in the ranks of the coaches. I think Mike Tomlin, he came out and said that he's not confident that the NFL is going to make it through the season. So I'll pause it here again and ask you guys the same question. Do you think that the NFL is going to make it through the season? Or do you think there's going to be a disruption?
If they continue the way they are right now, there's no way they make it through the season. Here's the thing. They got baseball to kind of mirror and see, hey, if they didn't make it with what they did and we're kind of doing the same, we need to change. It's not going to work. I know they've done something as far as reducing the roster.
Yes.
I don't think it's at that
Yeah.
60-man
about
level
50,
anymore. I think
53
it's
or 55.
under that. Yeah. But no way, man. If it's not working for the MLB, it's not going to work for
Way more
contact. And that's also what we talked about, the undrafted guys. I mean, here we see them cutting roster spots, trimming it to limit how many people are in the building, because obviously football has the most people taking part in the sport, so they're going to be the most liable. But for these undrafted guys, man, I mean, even harder to make a roster now. So just terrible all around for everybody.
Today actually would have been the Hall of Fame game, Cowboys versus Steelers.
Today, really?
Yep, but obviously that got canceled, so that's not going to happen. And one last thing before I move on to the NFL, because I do want to talk about some college, because there's some sauciness going on in college right now, is the NFL has created a face guard that they're asking players to wear. And one prominent player, his name is Aaron Donald, has come out and said that there's no way he's going to wear that. So, and again, I'll just ask the question: if there was something like that the NFL was offering to you, I mean, would you guys put much onus in it, or are you just going to be like, you know what, screw it, I'm already out here, I'm just going to operate the way that I normally do. There's no need for me to put on this extra layer.
Have you seen the video when they use the mask? Kind of fogs up their whole situation.
Yeah. It's hard to operate.
Yeah.
I don't know if I do that or think it's a viable.
For guys with visors, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
The mask fogs up the visor.
There's got to be a better way, a better mask that can be made than the one that they had, that plastic.
Yeah,
mask.
That's not going to work.
There's got to be another way.
And again, that just leads me to believe that the NFL really does not care about the well-being of their players. They just want to get the product out there and protect their bottom dollar. So hopefully it doesn't come back and bite them in the butt. Because, again, I'm a huge football fan. I think all three of us are big football fans here and want to see a season. So just to leave it not so much on a positive note, but any of us that are commissioners out there in fantasy football, are you guys adding a coronavirus IR spot? Somebody gets the Rona, you're going to add an IR spot to your roster?
Two of them.
Two just for the Rona, or two plus the normal one that you would have?
Yeah, I'm adding an additional. I had never used IR, but this year, especially with the Rona, it's going to be 2 IR spots.
There we go. I like that. I'm a commissioner in my league, and I think we're going with 2 IR spots also. So Just something to look out for in fantasy football, guys. Proceed with caution.
Yeah, and this is one of those things that's not going to be up for vote in the league. It's like it's happening. Right? Usually I go to vote.
Stay away from OBJ because he's going to probably be partying in between, and he's a high-risk guy, in my opinion. No offense, but I can't trust those guys. You want the guys that you know are just going to go straight home and go back to the facilities.
Or the guys who've already had it.
Yeah, exactly. But just moving on to college, because there is some things that are, I guess, bubbling up there. We've had 3 prominent NFL prospects opt out, all in the Big Ten, and just say that, hey, you know what, guys? I've already done enough work in college. There's no need for me to come out here and risk getting sick or getting further injured or playing in a season that really doesn't matter. The biggest name I would say is probably Rondale Moore. He just opted out today. He's the stud receiver from Purdue.
Stud receiver.
Mm-hmm. He's do it all. He's not that big of a receiver, but he's a baller. He gets the job done. Purdue. Number 4. Yeah.
5-star recruit, man. That just got slipped through.
And so he's a freshman. He's a freshman.
He's a junior or sophomore. This was going to be his junior year. Last year, he caught 113 passes for 1,250 yards and 12 touchdowns. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns and about 750 yards off of kickoffs and punts. Do-it-all guy, All-American. He's deciding to opt out. He probably doesn't need any more film. The other one that opted out was the linebacker out of Penn State, Micah Parsons. And then the other one was the receiver out of Minnesota, who's another potential number 1 or first-round pick. He was all Big Ten, is Rashad Bateman. So we're seeing a bunch of these guys opt out right now, all prominent players that have futures. Do you think we're going to see more of a ripple effect? I think the other name that's thrown out in the Big Ten a lot is Justin Fields. Do you think we'll see a guy like Justin Fields say, hey, I'm not playing? Or maybe a guy like Trevor Lawrence come out and say, hey, I'm not playing?
Trevor Lawrence I could see more, but Justin Fields I think has a little more to prove than Trevor Lawrence. I think it's pretty consensus that Trevor Lawrence is going number 1. Yeah. So I could see him for sure sitting out the season. But I don't know. Wasn't there a DB out of Virginia Tech also who was a first-round talent?
Mm-hmm. Another one.
Another guy that just decided he wasn't going to play. So.
Yeah, and kudos to those guys, man. Like, they obviously have some leverage. They know where they stand as far as the big boards are concerned, and all they really got to do during this. Yeah, the film. Exactly, the film can get worse. So it can only get worse. Excuse me, by going out there. I don't know. They can better where they're at right now. Thank you, Clippers. But what I was going to say is, this is going to be interesting when it comes to the schools making the decision, and I'll kind of transfer over to Connecticut, the University of Connecticut, UConn. They're the first FBS school to opt out completely of the upcoming football season. So I think what that's going to end up happening or causing a ripple effect is on these smaller schools, and even without UConn opting out, you're seeing a bunch of these Power 5 conferences saying we're playing a conference-only schedule. So I do think that a bunch of small schools are not going to have football this year. So I guess I don't even know if it's a question, but are you guys any less excited for the college football season this year than you have been in years past?
No, not less excited. A little worried that something's going to stop it from going on. I'm of the whole proponent of some of these fall sports, just postpone them and make them spring sports. I mean, they can be spring sports with the weather and things like that. I'm just kind of concerned for the kids who are on that bubble of, hey, are they good enough to make the NFL or not? I want to see them get a chance to play. I don't want them to, not everybody can afford to sit out a whole year. Some of these kids, I mean, their aspirations to make the NFL because they got to feed their families, and I want some of them to be able to play and get a chance. I don't know if the NCAA will release them so that they can do something like that, being that they're served the 3 years out of high school to go to the NFL. But I mean, it's just tough. It's a tough thing for these kids. I don't like the situation that we're in with the world, with the pandemic, and I would think the best thing to do is, you know what, postpone and make this a spring sport this year.
Yeah, but
That's
who says it gets fixed by the spring, Justin? UConn sucks at football.
Yeah, but you might have a little bit more.
UConn sucks
you know, a
at
little
football
more.
anyway. Like, they're bad. They're one of the worst.
Dan
I guarantee
Orlovsky's
they'll
their
be playing
pride and joy.
basketball. Look, I guarantee
They're
Yeah,
a
I
basketball
guarantee you, UConn will be playing basketball. That tells you what they think of their football program. I know they have a pretty big rivalry. I forget with what other cheap ass school it is. But like a coach a couple years ago created a whole trophy for that rivalry. And bro, listen, you don't want to watch UConn football game anyway.
Very good
And
point.
and their players won't be at risk. This is great, UConn. Smart choice, UConn. Let's hope other schools like UTEP follow suit.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I agree. UConn's probably not making anybody sad by canceling their college football season, but, I just always thought it was weird that, and again, I know why they're doing it, but if it's not safe enough to have college students on campus like you normally would, then why do you have these guys on campus?
The exception, Roland.
Yeah, they're the exception, of course. They're creating millions of dollars for their universities, but I wouldn't trust a college kid to adhere to the rules. You saw what happened, or I don't know if you did, but Louisville, they had to shut down 4 of the fall sports because they had a couple of kids, more than a couple, I think it was more than 10, it might have been close to 20, test positive because they were throwing off-campus parties. I mean, the kids are not going to take it seriously. I promise you that. I think there's going to be a big disruption coming for college football. I think the NFL is a little bit different because you got guys making millions of dollars, but I think a lot of these kids, once people start going back to school and whatnot, there's going to be a bunch of off-campus parties. I guarantee it. I mean, it's just college. And there's no way you're going to tell me that I'm going to go live in a dorm or live in an apartment with my buddies or a house or whatever and not party.
Cooped up and just be cooped up and go to practice.
Yeah, exactly. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm excited for the season, but honestly, I don't expect it to play out fully. Just because they have a hiccup where certain games can't be played. For example, it hits Ohio State, playoff potential team, they have to miss 2 games. What's going to happen to the season? They're not just going to say, "Hey, sorry, Ohio State, you can't play this year. Like, you can't play for the title this year."
Hell
So
no.
they're just going to end up calling it all, like how baseball.
Well, what they already did is they pushed the college football playoff date, where they made the decision who's going to be in it from December 6th to December 20th.
I think that's a very good
But how
point.
many games do we expect? Like, are they going to be making up games during those weeks? What's
Well, the plan are for these teams are to be playing within the conference alone. So the SEC is playing 10 games within their conference. That canceled the Texas LSU
I understand.
match. ACC is doing the same. Pac-12 is doing the same. Big 12 is deciding
So,
on that.
but
right
if
So
now.
they're going
Ohio
to play
State-
one non-conference.
But let's say Ohio State or Nebraska gets Corona and now,
Let's just say Nebraska. 'cause
all
I love
right,
Ohio
Nebraska, Minnesota, whoever, 17 players get Corona.
State. Dang. 17.
Because if somebody goes in, like, and bro, let's be honest, those aren't even the best locker rooms and shit. Like, if somebody has it, the whole team's gonna get it, bro. The other thing is these guys aren't even getting, they don't get paid, first of all. But now you're supposed to come and play through a pandemic, and what's in it for them? Like, obviously some get to go to the league, but what about the other guys? They're just there to make the university money. Like, nothing else is. They're not being compensated any other way. It's not a good look at all, bro. And they're obviously, you see the people and how bad it's rigged, how stupid the structure is, and they're just that hard-headed that's why it's not going to end up playing out.
And I think those are all very good points, but I also do think that just like the MLB, they're going to find a way to kind of try and adjust. Again, these guys are all obsessed with the bottom dollar. So, for example, the MLB, I thought they would have already been done by now. We've mentioned that 4 teams have been counted. The Marlins had to stay in Philadelphia for a week because they had 20 players and staff tested positive. The Cardinals had 13 players and staff. But the MLB, is sticking to it and saying we're not canceling it. Instead, they put out some new rules today. Now, this will be the last thing that we talk about in the coronavirus Dr. Saucy update. Is the MLB has put out these new rules, which I thought one of them should have already been a rule. Is they're requiring all players and staff to wear face coverings while they're in the dugout in the bullpen. I thought that was a pretty obvious one going into the season, that they should at least be wearing face coverings while they're in the bullpen and in the dugout. So they're making it mandatory to do so now. They're also making it to where the traveling parties is absolutely essential personnel. If you're not a player or a coach or training staff, you're not traveling. Players and personnel have to wear face coverings at all times when in the hotels or when they're in each other's individual room. A member of the road team, whether player or staff, needs to inform the team or a compliance officer if he or she wishes to leave the team hotel for any reason. Because I guess what ended up happening was the Cardinals made a freaking casino trip to Las Vegas. And that's kind of how this all busted and they all got in trouble. So the MLB, they are definitely threatening with suspensions to anybody who does not adhere to these new rules. I'm trying to look for the games. They can be banned from further participation in the 2020 season following a written warning. So imagine you're the Yankees and Aaron Judge doesn't feel like wearing a mask, and then 2 weeks later he gets banned for the rest of the season. So I think the MLB is doing a good thing here.
Ban him.
For sure, and ban Garrett Cole too. But
and check him for steroids too.
Some of these things I thought were kind of self-explanatory going into the bubble, but I'm glad that the MLB, even though it's reactionary and not being proactive, they're trying to make this work. So hopefully, if the NFL runs into any trouble or the college football NCAA runs into any trouble, they're able to adjust and not just cancel the season. So that's just something for the MLB. I know we're all kind of Astros fans here, so we're all happy that they haven't been getting booed. But just weird times, unprecedented times that we find ourselves in. All we can do is just hope that it keeps on going, because I'll tell you, it's felt like heaven having having basketball, having golf, having the NBA, having soccer all back up and running. I mean, it feels like it's close to normal. I was talking about it with a friend of the podcast, Diego. I was like, it felt good on a Saturday. I had bets going on some of the golf that was going on. I had some bets on some soccer plays. I had bets on hockey. I had bets on the NBA. It felt like a normal Saturday for Roland, and I just hope that continues. So, yeah, that's enough. I don't know if you guys want to touch on anything else Saucy related or coronavirus related, but that's all that I had.
No, that was pretty much everything, man. Hoping for the best, but
and I will be practicing my pitching. So next time you guys see me on the mound, straight heat.
And please wear your mask in the stand.
I will.
Hey, it's required in the dugout, so now he don't have a damn choice.
Yeah.
We got some MMA going on this weekend. It's UFC FIGHT NIGHT 174, Lewis versus Olenek.
Hey.
But before that, we gotta update our podcast standings. Ben, let them know where we at. Who's leading? Is it you or Roland at the top still? Or
we know who's leading. I'm leading, but you sounded like Bruce Buffer when you were announcing that, Justin.
I've been working.
Damn it, boy! Hey,
you
can't have them chords forever, right? You can't have them vocal cords forever.
Yeah.
Let's get into the standings, man. I think we picked 5 fights last week for that Whitaker and Till card. Maybe we'll do a little brief recap right now after I go over the standings. But we got Roland Zamora. I don't know why I said it like that. I apologize, Roland. Roland Zamora at 38.7. Justin, 36.6. I'm at 40.7. Josh, 29.75. Gabby, 36.7. John, 27.21. Mondo, 35.45, catching up to Gabby. Mondo making it respectable. Roland G, 29.8. 23.2. I'm sorry, Roland G, 23.2. Izzy, 20. Diego, 34.05. Steven, 20.9. Rexa, 30.45. Jacob with 3. Mike Gonzalez with 3. Wally with 4. We had three new entries this past week, and not bad scores for picking 5 fights. My cousin Gene had 4.6. I know he was one of the few that
big numbers.
He was one of the few that was on Verdun and picked up the 2.6 points off of that Verdun victory. Ron with 3, and Leo Garcia with 3.35.
Nice.
So that's the updated contest. We didn't have a consensus. The consensus is still 4 minus 1.8. But like Justin said, we got another week, another UFC card, man. It seems like every week they've just been consistent with putting out cards. I know last week, briefly, what did y'all think about Whitaker and Till? I know I had Till. I thought that it was a close fight, but I did have Whitaker winning one more round than Till. I was surprised that he dropped Till. Very surprised when that happened. But I thought it was a decent fight card. That main event wasn't the most entertaining, very strategic.
Very strategic.
Yeah, very strategic.
Sure, I thought it was very entertaining.
But I thought they got it right. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I had Till myself, and maybe I'm biased, but I had Till winning 3-2. I didn't put much credence in those takedowns at the end of the fight. I thought Till got back up and kind of canceled out those takedowns. So, yeah, I had Till just enough to win the fight. I had it a very close 3-2, but I mean, Till came out on the Ariel Helwani podcast and kind of said that you could have given it to either guy. I think that's the kind of fight that it was, and you could make an argument that either one was the rightful winner. So can't make too strong of an argument that Till got quote unquote robbed, because it just wasn't. It was super close. So it was all in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, I like seeing Whitaker come back. I was a little worried about his chin with those Romero fights.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to have taken him off, but it did not. He looked good. He did get dropped by that elbow of Till's, but for the most part, Whitaker had a lot of control in the fight. I think he did blow out Till's knee with those oblique kicks that he does. So that helps out a lot. The striking, Till can be a little, with that left hand, just a little bit one-sided, but he showed a little bit more. But still, Whitaker's striking was a little bit better. His unorthodox movement was better. The card overall, not my favorite card, but the main event for me, being a Whitaker fan, I liked what I saw. I think he's back. I don't know if he's ready for a title fight yet again. Maybe I would like to see him with one more.
Well, he's fighting a beast.
They already booked him against Cannonier.
Yeah. That's going to be a banger.
Which I think the winner of that is going to get a title shot. I would have to say they get the winner of Costa. If Costa wins, Izzy's getting a rematch. I mean, just looking at
for sure.
They would be stupid not to give him the rematch. But
so you know what? I got some MMA news, and maybe it's not necessarily news, but it's a little bit MMA cheese, man. Little rumors, So Masvidal came out recently saying his next fight won't be until November, December, because his opponent has a broken nose, right? And so he's ready to come in earlier. That's Usman, right? But he said that today, Mark Raimondi from ESPN leaked Kamaru Usman has a broken nose. So it looks like, based on what Masvidal's saying, the rematch is set for November, late November, early December.
Yeah, because Usman was given a 180-day ban for having a broken nose, which I didn't think he had gotten touched, but that came out and said he had a broken nose. So yeah, right away when you said his opponent has a broken nose, the only thing that came to mind was Usman, but
exactly. I put two and two together.
Who else would have been in line? If it wasn't him, Covington? Burns. Oh, shit.
Yeah, but I think they want to do the full camp rematch. Dana owes Masvidal stepping in 6 days notice. And you know how Dana favors those guys that are willing to do whatever they can to keep the card going. So I think this fight is going to happen. The other one that got busted was Yair Rodriguez and Zabit. Apparently, out of Yair's camp, broken ankle. Zabit's not buying it. He says Yair's afraid. And he said by default he wants that match. And he wants Swope next. And Cater said, "Hey, I'm ready to step in." Ben, you brought up a good point, man. Zabit has not fought a 5-round fight. We saw him gassing towards the end of that Cater fight. I had that fight 50-50.
That was a 3-round fight as well.
That was a 3-round fight. I think Zabit, Cater need to go 5 rounds.
Especially because of the way that Cater's been stepping up for the promotion and fighting, twice in a month, twice in a month and a half.
Talk about it.
And dominating performances. Yeah, he got tagged a bit, but nothing serious. And that fight was supposed to be a 5-rounder when it was first booked. It was supposed to be in Boston, which Cater's from. And then it got canceled, went to a 3-rounder and into Russia. So, I mean...
Yeah, you know how it is in Russia with the
Russian and it was a decision, and it was one that people said it could have gone either way. If it had been 5 rounds, everybody pretty much said Cater would have ran away in the later rounds. So it's owed. It needs to be done.
So is Zabit ducking Cater?
I don't know if he's ducking him, because if I already had a win against somebody, I don't know if I'd be so open to fighting them when I'm that close to a title shot. I think I'd be pushing for a title like him, but you got to think, and he's never fought a 5-round fight. We've seen him slow down in a 3-rounder, and Volkanovski tweeted him back, and he put, "Hey man, I'm not a replacement fighter." He said, "Go win a fight, and then I'll see you in October." But just because your guy couldn't fight doesn't mean the champ is stepping in to fight you. You're the challenger. You know what I mean? You got it twisted. So I like it, and I think that. Shit, put him against Holloway. Make him earn it, bro. But you gotta main event. You gotta fight 5 before you just go and fight for the title.
I would like that fight.
There's no way.
I agree. That's a good point to me. That needs to happen. Because at this point, I don't think he can go 5 with a top.
We saw this past weekend. I know we didn't have a podcast to talk about it, but Shabazian was a 3-1 favorite. Just because, and 22-year-old kid, young like Zabit, used to getting people out of there, and he just fought a dude who was a veteran and just strong as hell, and you could kind of see Shabazian,
supposed gatekeeper of the division.
Right. Well, that's what everybody was calling him, but now he's with Henry Hooft in that camp, and he hasn't lost a fight since. Do you know who he called out? Did he call anybody out after Brunson?
No, he said he just wants to start working towards a title. So he wants to fight higher ranked guys, is what he said essentially.
Okay.
I did see he came out with a different look. He had the blonde hair. I don't know if that was owed to that other fighter from the past.
Kevin Randleman?
The name's blanking.
Kevin Randleman. I think he's done that a couple times, actually, Brunson. But, yeah, and Verdum, after that last card, we saw how bad he was against Oleinik. He lost that split decision. We'll be talking about Oleinik right now against Lewis, but man, for Gustafsson to come and get tapped, I mean, Gustafsson looked bad, bro.
You know, I saw a tweet on Twitter that said, you shouldn't be hyped about Gustafsson. Him going to heavyweight is not a good thing. It just means he's not trying anymore. And it really did look like that.
As soon as it hit the mat, it was a wrap, dude. And Verdum... Yep. And Verdum afterwards, I mean, he sounded like he was out there to prove his point. Like he said, "Thank you, UFC, for letting me come back in so quickly and redeem myself," because everybody was thinking, what the hell with his last fight against.
Is he a free agent now? Verdum? I think he's a free agent.
To be honest.
Man, he had 2 fights, I believe, Roland, and he's fulfilled them. I just don't know where his contract's.
Oh, he was talking about that was the end of the UFC, though, Roland. You're right, because he called out Fedor.
Fedor. Yeah, there we go. That's where I was getting that from, because Ariel was also doing
He had issues, remember, previously about asking to be released.
When he got caught for doping.
Yeah.
But so once your time is done in the UFC, your time is done. But I mean, He won the title there. You know, he went out on a
champion.
win and a respectable name in Gustafsson. Go to another promotion and win a belt. You know what I mean? So yeah, but
Also, just a little bit, Bellator is coming on this weekend as well. Just we're not covering it, but just so the people are aware, there is a Bellator this
Valerie
weekend.
Lorena, baby.
Mitrione's fighting Tim Johnson.
I see you rolling.
Yeah, whatever. All right, man. Let's get into this
Harder
card.
than Paige.
Let's get into this card. UFC Fight Night: Lewis versus Oleinik. Black Beast in this hoe. Yeah, we're going to pick 4 fights. We're going to start in the lightweight division. We're going to start from the bottom and go up. In the lightweight division, we got Alex Munoz, 6-0. He's plus 185 against Nasrat Hackerpass.
Whatever.
11-3, minus 225. So Nasrat, I know we saw of him, he was getting knocked out by Drew Dober, a fight that he was kind of winning. We know Dober also beat up Alex Hernandez recently, so Dober's not a bad opponent to lose to. Dober's been in the UFC for a while. He's seasoned, and with his new camp, he looks like he's motivated and on a run. As far as Munoz goes, guy fighting out of Team Alpha Male. This is his UFC debut. He fought on Dana White Contender Series, and he actually fought Nick Newell, the dude who has one arm and like a stub up to his elbow, who was a World Series of Fighting. He fought for them. Nick Newell has a fight against Justin Gaethje as well that went to a decision. He went to a decision with Justin Gaethje with one arm and a stub. So he fought.
No, actually, he lost to Gaethje by knockout.
Oh, I thought he had gone to a decision with him. Munoz went to a decision with him. I'm sorry, that's where I'm getting confused.
Correct.
Munoz on his Contender Series went to a decision with Nick Newell. Alpha male fighter, auto fade for me. UFC debut, auto fade for me. I think Nasrat, the better all-around fighter. I think he's going to want to keep this fight standing. He's very clean. I think that he can get Munoz out of there. So I'm going to go with Nasrat Haqparast.
Yeah, I'm taking Nasrat just based off of what I see here in terms of their past fights. So this looks like it's Alex Munoz's like official UFC debut.
Yep.
So I'm going to take Nasrat. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, it's quite, and again, I don't know too much about Alex Munoz, but I just going off of a guy making his debut, it's a considerable step down in competition from Drew Dober. So the only thing that worries me here is Nasrat maybe not taking the fight as serious. But Nasrat, he's a guy, he's only 24 years old. I don't think motivation is going to be an issue for him. I think he's a guy who was, prior to getting slept by Drew Dober, he was somebody that was on the UFC short list of people that they were trying to push maybe. Maybe he got pushed a little too fast and ran into a guy like Drew Dober who was not going to take no for an answer and got his ass handed to him. So I'm going to go with Nasrat to get some redemption here and get back on the winning course.
I know, Justin, I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'm not going to say it, but who do you got here?
I'm going to go with Alex Munoz. Both these guys are relatively new. Nasrat does have a few more fights on him, but I tend to favor guys who can wrestle, and Munoz is going to be the superior wrestler here. Nasrat does rely on knockouts to win for the most part. He has his 2 decision wins, and I think Munoz is going to just ground and pound. We're going to see him take him deep, and he's going to win.
I thought you were going to say that Nasrat looks like a mini Kevin Gastelum, because that is what he does. That is what he looks like.
He does. He even has.
Hopefully, he doesn't let us down like Kevin Gastelum. Damn it. Well, at least me and Roland. Kevin Gastelum, I'm still pissed at him for going out like that. Damn it.
Dude, that was such a bad fight.
Yeah.
He looked so
well,
bad.
Justin, you just made a very bad pick, bro. Alex Munoz, alpha male fighter, no chance.
No, I didn't.
Well, you know I'm not a big.
I didn't take. Don't put me in that.
Don't
put me in that with you guys.
He's gonna have the
I didn't take Gastelum. I didn't. It was you and Justin that took Gastelum. I was on Hermanson.
No, I was on Hermanson also.
Oh, I was on Hermanson. I didn't take Gastelum. I think it was Justin that took Gastelum.
Contest. Yeah, for the
contest.
Yeah, I took Gastelum
Well,
because that's
I'm
my
saying
guy.
he let us
Yeah,
down just because, bro, that fight lasted 10 seconds. And we
True, true,
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
So, anyways, getting into our next fight in the lightweight division, Beneil Dariush, 18-4-1, fighting Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman.
Hot sauce.
Dariush comes in as a minus 175 favorite. Holtzman 13-3 record, plus 140 dog. Honestly, for me, this fight was pretty simple. Dariush, the vet, been around for a long time. Yeah, he took a little roadblock when Hernandez bursted onto the scene and blitzed him for that knockout. But ever since then, the dude's just been winning fights. He's coming into this one on a 4-fight win streak. The last 3, 2 by sub, another one by KO. He knocked out Drakkar Klose. Drakkar Klose is another guy who, a younger dude, but I like the way that he fights. He's got high IQ, and it's a decent opponent. It's a very good opponent. Knocked out Frank Camacho. He subbed Drew Dober. Beneil Dariush is just a better all-around fighter. Came into the UFC mostly as a jiu-jitsu guy. Lately, his stand-up has been coming around, hence that knockout to close. And for Scott Holtzman, I mean, it's a former hockey player, now UFC fighter, gritty dude. I mean, he's just going to want to grind on Dariush, get him to the ground. And I don't think that he's going to be successful in getting him to the ground. And even when Holtzman does get guys to the ground, he kind of just holds them down and wins rounds. But Dariush's jiu-jitsu is too good, in my opinion. I think that he's better all around. The line is actually pretty low, in my opinion, at minus 175. So I'm going to go with Dariush for this.
Alrighty. I'm going this one primarily just off of the guy's nickname, and I need to make up some points in the contest. I'm trying to catch Ben here, so I'm not going to pick the same guy as him in this situation. So I'm going with Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman. I think he's a talented enough fighter to make this close. I don't think Dariush is going to run away with it. So as long as Scott Holtzman can stay in contention throughout the fight, maybe make this a decision, I think he can find his way into a victory. I think he just, like as Ben said, needs to go for that takedown. So I'm going to go with Scott Holtzman here. Give me hot sauce.
I got Beneil Dariush. He's on a streak. They do got a common opponent. I don't like to always do MMA math, but on this one I am. Drew Dober. Hot Sauce lost to him. Dariush has a win over him. And Dariush was even able to sub him. So I'm going to go Dariush on this one.
Dariush, main thing is going to be not to get caught. His chin is very suspect. I mean, he got knocked out by Alex Hernandez, and Alex Hernandez really hasn't shown that he has power aside from that fight, which was probably a lot just adrenaline. I mean, the dude got called up on a week's notice to fight a top 10 guy.
Rosa knocked him
out. He blitzed him. But Holtzman
like
doesn't have knockout power. Dariush, I like him to win inside the distance, but he's got 4 losses. None have been by decision. So if it goes the distance, I lean his way also. But getting into the next fight, we're moving to the middleweight division. And here's a dude, man, who ended the reign of a lot of people's favorite fighters, Anderson Silva. Chris, the All-American Weidman, back in action and back at 185 after a little short stint at 205. Chris Weidman, 14-5, comes in as a minus 130 favorite against Omar Wolverine Akhmedov, 24-1. The comeback on him is at even. Like I mentioned, Weidman back at 185 after that 205 beatdown that he took to Dominic Reyes. Remember, just went up there for one fight, got knocked out in a round. And now he's back at 185.
Just talking about giving John Jones problems.
Man, how short-lived was that, bro?
Man, you know what? The Chris Weidman, this guy might be the guy who was at the highest point and had the biggest drop-off.
We're gonna get into that. Man. We're gonna get into that because I think that it's not warranted, but it's justified. That drop-off is justified when we start breaking this fight down. I think that we're gonna think that it's justified. But Yeah, him talking about John Jones, bro. I mean, that's what that reminded me of. Is you open Twitter and it's like a MMA Twitter, or what is it that with the little mouse that it's like a tweet. It's a ridiculous ass take, and then the little mouse it's like open MMA Twitter, and you see this, and it's just like Paige Van Zandt going to bare knuckle boxing, and then it's just going right back into the little rat hole. Like I didn't need to see this. But anyways, for this fight, Weidman, short favorite. I think that this is one of the better lines that we've seen on him since, like you said, Justin, he was a reigning champ. And to speak of his downfall, man, let me just name the fights to you. Since 2013, Chris Weidman beat Anderson Silva for the belt, gave Anderson Silva a rematch, beat
Leg
him.
injury.
Yeah. Fought Lyoto Machida, beat him. Fought Vitor Belfort, beat him. Fought Luke Rockhold, lost. Fought Yoel Romero, lost. Fought
Died.
Gegard Mousasi, lost. Fought Kelvin Gastelum, won. Fought Jacare, lost. Fought Dominic Reyes and lost. That lineup right there is crazy. Look at all the names we just named. Where does Omari Akhmedov fit in that shit right there?
He probably doesn't.
It fits right before where he was fighting guys like Mark Munoz,
Right.
Damian Maia, Tom
His
Lawler.
climb to be a champion. Where he
Yeah, which is not even a good
Nope.
climb, by the
Nope.
way.
come on, I mean he was under
It's not, bro. Damian Maia and Mark Munoz
but
at
Damian
middleweight.
Maia is what
It
got
is not a
Easton
good
his
climb.
title
Ran
shot.
into a
Damian
situation-
Maia is what
he
got
ran into
Colby
a situation-
Covington his title shot. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but Damian Maia Welter was a lot better than a middleweight.
Damian Maia is
bro.
That
Damian
and-
Maia, brother.
I think you also have to look at the
No,
landscape
it's
of the
not.
division
It's-
at that
it's
time.
not.
Anderson Silva was probably
Here's
running
the
through
thing, this
everybody.
dude- Yeah, this dude is the luckiest dude
Luckiest
in the world
champion.
when he was
Yeah,
champion.
luckiest champion.
Yeah, he got Anderson Silva only because Silva did the taunting, and then
Broke
Silva
his leg.
had the freak leg injury.
Yeah.
After that, he beats Machida. Machida's on his way out. He hasn't been the same
Mhm.
since. He beats Belfort. Belter without TRT is nobody. He goes and shows that he's not who I all thought he was. Rocco Romero, Masasi, I'll get him. Only reason he beats Gastelum is because he's so much bigger than Gastelum that he wrestles him the whole time. After that, he gets guys his size, Sosa, Reyes. He
Right,
doesn't have
guys.
the confidence. He's not going to
Well,
be the same
Weidman-
guy.
But
Weidman's
these are all
the
top
fakest
five
champion.
fighters. These are all top five
Weidman's the
fighters.
fakest
And here
champion.
we're talking about Omari Akhmedov.
And they're all knockouts,
But I
bro.
saw how many
They're all
knockouts
knockouts.
does
He's all
Omari
getting
Akhmedov
dominated.
have? How many knockouts does Omari out of his 20 wins? How many knockouts does Omari?
Are
11.
you gonna pick Weidman?
Oh, bro, this is not even close.
Are you gonna pick
This is
Weidman?
Weidman all day. Akhmedov's last knockout was like in 2016, 2014. This guy cannot knock him out. He's a Russian who wants to wrestle a guy nicknamed the All-American.
That's fine. I'll take him in a wrestling match.
Wherever
The only reason he
Why
can
do-
beat Akhmedov is because Akhmedov's not even a true middleweight.
because he's not good.
He's a 170er coming up.
Yep.
This why I said
So-
this is a great fight for Weidman. This is Weidman all day. This is not close.
I still hate
Why,
Who are
Weidman
you
might
taking?
get, why Weidman might get this guy out of there inside the distance is my
Who are you taking, Justin?
You know, if I was gonna bet with my money, I'd go Weidman, but I hate Weidman so much. I'm gonna take the other guy.
Yeah, I'm going.
I just don't like
I'm going with the
Weidman.
Wolverine.
I don't think he was ever warranted to get the title shot, and then he was just lucky. And then after that, it's been proven that he's not as good as everybody thought he was. That
You said it all for me, Justin. I thought Weidman was the flukiest champion of all time. So give me Omar
Super
Wolverine.
fluke, bro.
I'll take that.
This should be a consensus, listeners.
Weidman should have been playing the lottery, man. Weidman should.
Yeah,
have been
I
playing
mean,
the
come on,
lottery all the
man.
time.
Anderson Silva, like Justin
He would've
said,
won.
was taunting him because he didn't even take him seriously. He had run through everybody in the division. It's like, oh, let's fight this guy. Taunts him, gets knocked out, comes back, breaks his leg in the first round.
Because
And
he
then
checked
what
the
you see-
kick.
Yeah,
Because
freak
he
injury.
checked the kick.
Oh, the greatest kick of all time.
Hey,
The
we've
greatest
seen what
check
checking
kick of all
kicks
time.
does to people. We've seen
Yeah, man, but that was a freak injury. You know it. I
So
know it.
two
Let's not-
freak
let's not
fights.
play that
Come
role
on,
that we know.
guys.
And then he hasn't won a
Bro.
fight since 2017.
And then look at.
He's
I'm done. I don't
Yeah,
want to talk
yeah, he
about
lost.
it
But
anymore. It's getting
but
upset.
look,
We're
listen,
getting
he's gonna
heated on
walk
this.
through this fool. He's gonna walk through him. It should have been a consensus.
Yeah, he is. But I
That's
still want to
fine.
choose
That's
him.
fine. But that kept us from a consensus that y'all are damn Chris Weidman haters.
I'm not a Chris Weidman. I
That
just
doesn't
think
need
he's
to be on the podcast, okay? Or we do on the side for consensus.
All right,
he's
well-
1-6, 1-5 in his last
Well,
6.
how do you expect Omar
Yeah.
Akhmedov to win, guys? Or are you just basing it off of Chris Weidman hate?
He's gonna
Just Chris Weidman hate, baby.
pretty
That's me.
that, and I just don't think much of Weidman, so I wouldn't bet on him as a favorite. So I'll give me the even
Minus
the even odds.
130 roll in. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just a math.
guys, we're gonna come back next week. Look at this fight, and it's gonna be like, damn.
Well, I you know what? I hope not. I hope Omar.
All right,
Yep.
well, let's get to the main event in the heavyweight division. Like I said earlier, Black Beast in this hole. Derek, the Black Beast, Lewis, coming in with a 23-7 record against Alexei the Boa Constrictor Oleinik. He is 59-13-1. The line on this one's Lewis minus 220. The comeback on Oleinik plus 170. Man, I've been seeing videos of Derek Lewis, and he looks to be in shape.
Yeah, he does.
I saw him spitting in Oleinik's food because they gave it to him. But
I wouldn't doubt if Black Beast comes under that 265 limit.
is that what he usually comes in at, the limit of 265?
Yeah, he always comes in at the limit, but the guy's looking like he's.
Yeah, he does.
Didn't he
look-
have a health issue?
He had a back issues. He had a really bad
There you
back.
go.
That was,
There you go.
but
Yeah, I saw him at the chiropractor video that he came out on.
oh really?
Yeah, the Bo Hightower guy, the guy from New Mexico with the Jackson Wink's
Mhm.
main guy. He went with him and got fixed
Mm.
up.
Nice.
Well, anyways, Derek Lewis is coming off a decision win against Latifi, 2-fight win streak coming into this fight, but he has been fighting to decisions. I know we're used to Derek Lewis finishing fights. Thankfully for us, this is a 5-round fight, and both of these guys finishers in their own right. Derek Lewis with the hands, and the Boa Constrictor with that Ezekiel choke. We know he had 59 wins and 46 are by sub.
46.
That's
So-
awesome.
Listen, this fight's pretty simple, man. Derek Lewis, stay off the ground. I know that's a lot to ask for because he gets taken down in every single fight of his. The good thing is he's only been tapped one time.
So he knows what to do on the ground.
Y'all remember by who?
By who tapped him?
So Derek Lewis got
Yeah.
tapped by?
I can't remember.
It was in the title fight, boys.
Oh, DC.
DC.
Oh, the RNC.
Yeah,
That's
and-
right. That fight fades me because
It was
that
so
fight-
Yeah, that
unlegit,
fight sucked.
right? Like he was
Yeah.
coming in with a messed up back, and DC had the thumb issue that he wouldn't
Yeah.
fight Stipe the rematch with. But yeah, that's the only time that he's been subbed. And honestly, Oleinik isn't the best wrestler. He kind of gets guys down by grinding on him and tripping them up against the fence.
He has a good
The
trick.
one thing about
Yeah.
Lewis,
Oleinik has a history of losing to wrestlers too, like Curtis Blades.
yeah,
and Will Harris.
well, Oleinik has a history of losing to anybody with power, man. 7 of his 13 losses are by KO. And honestly, shit, bro. Derek Lewis has been going to decision, but I think that the best way for him to win this fight is he needs to get it done in the first round. But he needs to punch. He can't be scared. Like, this guy's not that good of a wrestler. Let go. He's not gonna double leg you and take you straight down like DC would. I think DC got him with something with like as simple as an ankle pick when they fought. But he looks to be in better shape. I'm worried because he gets taken down in every fight, and I think that if Oleinik full mounts him, I think it's done for him. But the same way, Oleinik trying to trip up the Black Beast could end up on top, and if he gets that ground and pound on Oleinik, I don't think that he's going to take much. So I'm going to pick the Black Beast, but I'm not as confident as I'd like to be. Although he only loses to top 5 fighters, and Oleinik is nowhere near a top 5 fighter, I'm still hesitant, but I'm going with the Black Beast.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Black Beast. He's one of probably the best and one of my favorite personalities in the UFC. He has a good Instagram follow, for sure. Always posting some funny stuff on there. Great personality. A great stand-up fighter, has been alluded to. And I actually think that Alexei might come into this fight a little willing to stand up a little bit, and I think that might play into Derek's into his wheelhouse. And I'm gonna give Derek Lewis here. I'm going with him for a victory, and I think he's gonna get him by knockout. I think he's gonna put him out in the first round. But I am worried about the takedown.
Derek Lewis for me. Yeah, Derek Lewis for me. H-Town, slanging and banging, like Roland said, personality, one of the funnest to watch. Also, just an all-around good guy. What he did when Houston was suffering with that hurricane, him going out in his own truck, getting people out of the water, just what he does for the community. Overall, good guy. I mean, I hope he gets him out in the first. I don't like these 5-round fights for these kind of heavyweights.
It could get sloppy.
When they tend to go past 3 rounds, they get a little sloppy, a little slow, and that's when he gets subbed. I tend to agree with Ben. First round is where it's going to be for him. This guy's not the best wrestler. Oleinik, don't be on the floor, man. If you get on the floor, find your way up as fast as possible. Those Ezekiel chokes that Oleinik has,
he's 43 years old, though, man. Like, you got to think Derek Lewis can fuck up a 43-year-old, bro.
I'd hope so. Do you think this will be the...
I mean, you know how it is, though.
Do you think this will be the last wrestler that Derek Lewis that gets thrown at Derek Lewis? I feel like
Curtis
all
Blades
of his last fights.
Curtis Blades is up
Gosh, I feel bad for Derek Lewis, man. They just keep on giving him wrestler after wrestler. Hopefully he can step up his
Curtis Blades is
takedown.
never getting a title shot.
Ngannou's next in line for the heavyweight title, and Curtis Blades can't sit for a year. He's going to fight the Black Beast, get another win under his belt, because he's just going to wrestle fuck him too. And if...
I got to ask you this then, Ben. Ngannou, eventually, we think he's going to be the title
I think Blades could beat Stipe.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, since Ngannou's next after the Stipe DC thing, we probably think Ngannou's the next guy.
I've said
let's
that.
Say he wins
100%.
Okay, let's say he wins it. Let's say he wins it. Do you want to see Blades and Ngannou Part 3?
I mean, eventually it would be that if Blades doesn't lose fights. You would have to get... There's been several fighters that have fought 3 times.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
No, but I'm saying, do you want to see that? Do you think Dana will book that?
I think he will.
Who else does he book?
Because you know how Dana does not
But
like...
you can't have a guy beating everybody in the division and not giving him a title shot because he's fought that guy.
Who else would he book? Who else would he book over Blade?
I'm just saying because you already lost.
Yeah, but one time the doctor stopped it.
Knocked out.
One time the doctor stopped it. He didn't get knocked out.
Yeah.
The second time he did get dropped.
TKO.
The second time he did get dropped. But nah, man, if the guys... I mean, it's not like if Curtis Blades can go down in weight, bro. He's a heavyweight.
No,
and if he's beating everybody else, you got to give him a title shot no matter who's holding the belt. After another win, max 2. Max 2 more wins.
Yeah. We'll see.
And I still think Ngannou...
Well, that's UFC Fight Night 174, boys.
Yeah. Where are y'all going to watch the fights? Are y'all going to watch the fights?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the fight.
It's Saturday night, right?
See what's happening.
Yeah, Saturday night.
Yeah, I'll probably be watching it at my crib.
Here's the thing for me. I'm a big fan of the show Big Brother.
You know, I heard about that, bro, and I'm thinking about watching.
And the thing about Big Brother, what makes it fun, is you get 24/7 access to the cameras. So you're able to see these guys play the game.
What else are you watching?
No, I don't. That's not what I'm about.
What's the game?
I like to see the gameplay. I like to see the politics. I like to see people, turn on each other's backs. I like to see a guy make a deal he can't cash. I like seeing stuff like that. That game has a lot of that.
What's the point of that, Justin?
And it's
for people that have never seen it, like me.
If you've seen the challenge, it's kind of like the challenge, except they live in a nice house. One guy wins the competition. He gets a room, and he's separate from everybody. And he decides 2 people that will go on the chopping block. And ultimately, the house decides based on the two people he decided who they're going to
So they don't even have to compete.
Then you get a chance to play. No, they do. They compete. That's what puts them on there. So they get a chance to compete to take themselves off, and they even get a chance like, hey, I want that guy to compete for me. Hopefully he wins, and maybe he'll take me off. Sometimes they win and they don't do anything, and they leave them on there, and then they get sent home. So it's a lot of politics. It's a lot of athleticism. Then sometimes there's those equalizers where they play a puzzle, and it's like the smart guy wins, and then he's in charge, and everyone's sucking up to him and trying to get on his good side. It's a fun game, man. And normally it gets played earlier in the summer. It got postponed because of Corona. They had to delay it. But they're pushing the gameplay already. Normally it takes 2 weeks before any gaming happens. They give you 2 weeks to know each other. But this year it's all-stars. Yeah. So it's everybody who's been a beast in the past. So they're already playing the game hard, man. And it's fun to watch.
I wonder if that's like on Hulu or YouTube. CBS.
There's a way to get the cameras for free. You know how I do my piracy, but we'll talk about that off camera.
The fans are watching.
Want to write yourself out.
For that.
Hey, Justin, speaking of Houston swinging and banging, bro, Harden's swinging and banging all over your Lakers right now.
Well, we know
the Hey, so is Russ. So is Russ.
I'll take it, though.
I saw a little meme about LeBron for MVP, but AD leads the Lakers in points, rebounds, blocks.
Yeah, no, like I said, the only reason LeBron gets MVP is because he's the reason.
He's Mr. ESPN.
That'd be
and to be fair, AD wouldn't be having the season he's having if it wasn't with LeBron. Maybe he'd have the numbers, but he wouldn't be in the position. We've seen it with the Pelicans, all those years. He had the numbers, but he'd never won a playoff series. So, he hasn't. But he is going to have to be their best player, I think, to win the title. I think AD. They're going to have to ride AD, man. He's a beast. He's a beast.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that's it for We Talking About Sports. This is episode number 15. Like I said, we are a weekly episodic podcast. We had a little break, but we're back.
Thursdays.
We'll be back next.
Thursdays.
Yeah, Thursdays. We'll be back next week with episode 16.
We'll pod dropping
We'll
on
cover
Fridays.
over the MMA and any other updates to the NBA.
Possibly.
Anything y'all want to say? Any closing
comments? I'll go for
look out for us on Fridays. Because we do record on Thursdays now, but the pod's going to be dropping on Fridays. And just keep on looking out for more sports coming out. Like I know we like to share our MMA picks every once in a while, but we might have a golf or a soccer pick, especially with Champions League coming on. So keep on following our socials. We're out there on Twitter and Facebook. I love the feedback we get on Facebook, and we might be doing some more live podcasts in the future also.
Yeah, we have to.
So that's just a lot of fun.
Now that we got the audio.
Yep. And actually, I'm not a big Real Madrid fan, but I'm going to be rooting for them tomorrow to beat Manchester City and champions tomorrow. So Champions League coming up. So, yeah, I'm in good spirits.
Yeah. Just look out for those Facebook Lives. Hopefully we fix that audio. We still got to try it out to make sure that it's fixed, but I'm looking forward to doing that, even if it's just for a half, going live and seeing what everybody's talking about while watching the game. It was pretty dope when we did it last week.
That was fun.
Last thing I just want to say is for everybody who's participating in the MMA Pick'em contest, just keep in mind we have a new format. It's a form. You fill it out. You can do it on your phone or on your computer, and it automatically record for us. It's made it a lot easier for us to keep track of the points. So just look out for that form. It's posted on our Twitter, posted on our Facebook. We thank everybody who's been participating, and the new guys. I see some new names already on this form, so thanks
for sure. All rocket.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. Listen, we talking about practice, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. What we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.